You were originally a peerless genius with the destiny of a god king. You started practicing at the age of 6, achieved the Yuaning stage at the age of 10, and at the age of 17, you broke through the 15 realms of the mortal world and achieved the status of a demigod. However, on the day of your wedding at the age of 20, you were betrayed by your girlfriend Luo Qingcheng. Not only did she take away your supreme bone, she also wiped out your entire clan. In order to drain the last of your luck, she even used 99 soul-sealing nails to seal you in the ancestral land of the Lu family. But just when they thought everything had settled, you awakened a demonic panel that could make you stronger by possessing others. Seeing this, you couldn't help but laugh madly. Luo Qingcheng, Luo family, you have harmed me so much. When I return after possessing someone, I will surely exterminate your entire clan. At this moment, you were lying in a bronze coffin, gradually waking up from the pain, filled with hatred and despair, feeling the constant loss of vitality. You understood that in at most a quarter of an hour, you would die completely. Is being buried alive after having your bones dug out your ultimate fate? However, just as you felt that your life was about to end, suddenly a mysterious and eerie panel emerged from the depths of your consciousness. The demonic panel, at the same time, also presented information about it in your mind. Identity, Demon Lord. You can possess all living beings in the world, using their talents and resources to strengthen yourself. At the same time, each possession grants the Demon Lord an invincible supreme law. During possession, the original body's time stops, and everything gained belongs to the Demon Lord and can be transferred back to the original body. With this panel, there is no karma, no cause and effect, no sin. Looking at the information revealed in your consciousness, even with your calm and steady demeanor, you couldn't help but show a look of shock. This item overturned your understanding and also showed you hope and despair. Just as you were pondering, a message appeared. Do you want to randomly possess a cultivator? You directly agreed. Whether you can defy fate depends on this one time. Congratulations! You successfully possessed the ancestral ancestor Yi Tsangtian of the ancient and desolate world of Lingnan. Upon hearing this, you were overjoyed, thinking that his cultivation and strength should not be too low. As you were contemplating, suddenly a loud rumbling sound came from your mind, and then you blacked out. It was unknown how long had passed, but when you regained consciousness, you found yourself in a spacious and bright secret room, transformed into a gloomy middle-aged man. At this moment, the demonic panel reappeared. You successfully possessed Yi Tsangtian and obtained the first invincible law in your life, the Yin Realm Qi Devouring Great Law. You need to change your current fate, and you can transfer everything Yi Tsangtian has to your original body. If you died during possession, your consciousness will automatically return to the original body without any harm. You glanced at the Yin Realm Qi Devouring Great Law and found that it was actually a divine king law. By using this law, you can plunder all the luck of the deceased before their death, thereby strengthening yourself. You couldn't help but admire it. With this magical and powerful law, it will greatly help you in your future cultivation. You began to sort through the memories in Yi Tsangtian's soul, and gradually, your brows furrowed. The Yi family's ancestors had produced a divine king, but now they had fallen to only 3 remaining clan members, which seemed quite tragic. After roughly understanding the situation, you sighed quietly. Fortunately, this family still had you as the ancestral ancestor, a half-god at the 10th level. Thinking of this, you suppressed the doubts in your heart and instead used the demonic panel to check Yi Tsangtian's specific information. His panel data was quite rich, not only possessing the great wilderness spirit body but also having the top-grade treasure, the 5 elements sword formation. However, his lifespan was only 2 months left, and the family was cursed by the heavens, never to ascend to godhood. You silently sighed in your heart. Yi Tsangtian can be called the unparalleled genius of the world. If he hadn't carried the curse of the Lingnan family for generations, he would have long become a god king. Why is he still just a half-god at the 10th stage? And you only have 2 months left to live. You also feel helpless and regretful about your fate. Now that you have taken over Yi Tsangtian's body, you have inherited everything from him, including the curse on him. According to the information revealed by the magic panel, you must change your current fate in order to transfer everything from Yi Tsangtian to your own body. In this case, you only have 3 paths to choose from now. First, remove the curse on Yi Tsangtian's body. Second, break the shackles of the demigod and become a true god. Third, extend one's own lifespan. These 3 paths seem difficult. You know that relying on Yi Tsangtian alone is definitely not feasible. Just as you furrow your brows in contemplation, a flash of inspiration crosses your mind, the Yin Realm Qi Devouring Technique. This invincible technique seems useful, as it can plunder the fortune of the deceased and enhance oneself. Your current location happens to be within the ancestral tomb of the Lingnan family, where the ancestors and predecessors of the Lingnan family are buried. If I were to plunder the Lingnan family, all of these ancestors' lifetimes of qi, could I change the existing destiny? A bold idea sprang up from the bottom of his heart. Think it and do it. After taking a deep breath, Jiang Wushan opened the secret chamber of his seclusion and walked towards one of the chambers. Lingnan family, inherited for more than 30,000 years. In the past, within the Green Sky domain, there was also a period of glory, with a god king sitting at the helm of the clan and hundreds of heavenly gods and true gods. Only, since the 12th generation ancestors suffered the curse, the Lingnan family had begun to fall. In this current era, there were only 3 clans left. The Lingnan family has lasted for 33 generations, and since the 12th ancestor encountered the curse of the heavens, all of the latter have been demigods. And 12 generations ago, all of them were true gods and above. According to Yi Zhangtian's memories, within the Lingnan family's ancestral tomb, there are a total of 9 divine kings, 36 heavenly gods, and 128 true gods buried. This is an immense legacy. Jiang Wushan silently counted in his mind. A few moments later, he arrived at the first level of the ancestral tomb, and all of the ancestors buried here were at the demigod cultivation level, 84 in all. It included every generation of family heads, old ancestors, and the outstanding celestial pride of the Lingnan family. Looking at the neatly arranged bronze coffins in front of him, Jiang Wushan slightly surveyed them for a few moments and then lifted up one of the coffins at the very front. See only. Inside this bronze coffin, the 32nd generation head of the Lingnan family, Yi Kangwa's father, Yi Qingyun, was buried. In his lifetime, his cultivation level was that of an 8th order demigod. For the sake of the Lingnan family, let's just condescend to you guys. Speaking. With a big hand, Jiang Wushan directly grabbed Yi Qingyun's frozen corpse from inside the bronze coffin. And then, he began to perform the netherworld qi eating technique, drawing on Yi Qingyun's qi luck from his life. Chapter 3, Taking the Dead Man's Qi, Yi Family's Sinful Son. Congratulations, you've successfully plundered 10,000 points of qi. Does it consume 10,000 points of qi to reduce the curse on your body by 0.1%? A quarter of an hour later, as Jiang Wushan plundered all of the qi from Yi Qingyun's body, 2 prompts violently came out from his mind, floating out. Expression of surprise. Looking at this sudden prompt, Jiang Wushan was first stunned, but immediately afterward, he reacted. It turns out that the qi luck plundered by the netherworld qi eating technique is actually used in this way. Isn't that what they call an add-on? Jiang Wushan's eyes were filled with astonishment. Feeling the prompt that surfaced in his mind, he didn't have any hesitation and immediately recited yes in silence. You have consumed 10,000 points of qi and managed to cut your own divine curse by 0.1%. Q word, once again. Seeing the situation, Jiang Wushan's spirit was lifted. And then, he pulled out Yi Zhangtian's character panel as fast as he could, and his eyes gathered on the column of curses. Curse, 99%. Seeing that the curse imposed by the heavens actually did cut down, a radiant essence burst out from the bottom of his eyes. The qi can cut the curse of the heavens. In that case, as long as I possess enough qi luck, then I can remove the curse of the heavens from my body, all of it. At that time, I will break Yi Zhangtian's original destiny. Jiang Wushan clenched his fists. Think about it. He turned his blazing gaze towards those remaining coffins in the chamber, which not only contained demigods, but also true gods and heavenly gods. There were even 9 god kings. If they were to be plundered of all of their lifetime's qi, at that time, to what extent would the curse of the heavens on their bodies be weakened? With this thought in mind, Jiang Wushan did not hesitate, and after putting Yi Qingyun's body back into the coffin, he immediately lifted the next copper coffin. Qi luck plus 5,000. Luck plus 8,000. Qi luck plus 10,000. Qi luck plus 7,000. Relying on the magical and powerful netherworld qi eating technique, Jiang Wushan dragged the corpses of demigods, one by one, out from inside their coffins, and then drew on the qi of their lifetimes. Half a day later, the 84 demigod ancestors buried in the Lingnan family had all had their qi fortune plundered cleanly by Jiang Wushan during their lifetime. With the help of this majestic qi, he cut the curse of the heavens on his body to 99.32%. This curse of the heavens, it really isn't that easy to break. According to this calculation, it would take at least 100 million points of qi to completely break the curse. The qi on these demigods now is just a drop in the bucket. Looking at the remaining curses on the panel, Jiang Wushan sighed bitterly. Despite finding a way to change his life, it wasn't that easy to actually act on it. The qi on a demigod was still too little. Now, Jiang Wushan could only pin his hopes on those remaining true gods, heavenly gods, and later god kings. The more powerful the cultivator was, the more powerful the qi on his body was. At the realm after the true god, the level of life had undergone an earth-shattering sublimation and change, and was by no means comparable to that of a living being in the mundane world. Nowadays, in the Lingnan family's ancestral tomb, there were still 128 true gods, 36 heavenly gods, and 9 divine kings left. This was Jiang Wushan's last hope to break his destiny. Thinking about it, he reloaded the body into the copper coffin and then went to the second level of the ancestral tomb. On this level, all of the true god ancestors of the Lingnan family were buried. Each of their coffins was extremely ancient in shape and had an extraordinary atmosphere. Even Lin Wudao could still clearly feel, if anything, a strand of divine might on these coffins. Even though all of these true god ancestors of the Lingnan family had been dead for more than 10,000 years, there was still a trace of residual divine might. See this. Jiang Wuxian first surveyed the area for a few moments, then he came to the nearest divine coffin and tried to open it. It won't open? When he put his hands on top of the bronze coffin, he found that no matter how hard he pushed, the coffin did not move. Above these coffins, all of them are covered with powerful prohibitions that cannot be opened without the power of a true god. Jiang Wuxian frowned tightly. The corpses inside these coffins were the key to breaking his curse from the heavens, and it was a matter of his life, death, and fate. Original. Jiang Wuxian had placed great expectations in his heart. Little did he know that the cruel reality had given him a blow to the head. If he couldn't open the divine coffin, he couldn't draw on the chi of the corpse's life. Without chi, he couldn't change his destiny. A true god's coffin has a true god-level prohibition, then a heavenly god's coffin must have a heavenly god-level prohibition. The coffin of a god king, even more so. If you want to open these coffins, you should look for a strong person of the corresponding level to do so. Right now the Lingnan family has been defeated. Where am I going to find true gods and heavenly gods, or even god kings? Jiang Wuxian sighed helplessly. At this point, the fire of hope that had just risen in his heart was instantly doused by this cruel reality. And just as he was filled with anxiety, all of a sudden, as if he had sensed something, he instantly looked his divine thoughts beyond the ancestral tomb, only to see that a grand sacrifice was being held in the outside world, and on top of the wide altar, all kinds of offerings were placed. Before the altar, there were 3 figures, 2 men and 1 woman. A middle-aged man in green with a face like a crown of jade and an elegant temperament, an old man in red with a hale and hearty spirit and a deep and introspective aura. In addition, there is a dignified and gentle courtesan. The current head of the Lingnan family, Yi Kangwu, his wife Yun Sosan, and the old housekeeper, Li Tianshan. Oh yeah, according to the time projection, today seems to be the day of the Lingnan family's ancestor sacrifice. Looking at the scene outside the ancestral tomb, Jiang Wuxian came to a realization. Right now, aside from Yi Luyun, everyone existing in the Lingnan family had arrived here. Yi Luyun hasn't returned yet? Didn't I tell him a long time ago that today is a big day to honor his ancestors and that he must come back for the festival, and now where is he? After 3 bows and 9 kowtows, Yi Kang's low voice rang out. The words were filled with dissatisfaction. Family master, I heard the young master say earlier that he's going to give the ancestor of the Lingnan family a big gift, as an expression of his filial piety. I guess, at this time the young master should have gone to prepare the offerings to the ancestors. The old housekeeper, Li Tianshan, replied with a bitter smile. The eldest son of the Lingnan family, Yi Luyun, although he was gifted and had excellent roots and bones, and was a good seedling for cultivation, he was absurd in nature and always did things that were not very reliable. Especially, favorite troublemaker. Basically, since he was born, Yi Kangwu was either wiping his ass or on his way to wipe his ass. Demon King is great name, even within the entire Great Zhou Divine Dynasty, it was as good as thunder. Asshole. Must have gone off somewhere to get into trouble again. I'll thank my ancestors if he'll leave me in peace and not get into trouble one day. As for him honoring his ancestor with an offering, with his measly cultivation of the king's realm, what great gift can he find? Yi Kangwu said with hatred. The Lingnan family, since ancient times, has not been prosperous. Original. He had high hopes for Yi Luyun, his only son, and hoped that he would be able to inherit his ancestors' foundation and carry forward the Lingnan family. However, heaven forbid. Yi Luyun had been a troublemaker since he was a child, and he didn't even know how many times he had wiped his ass and compensated for his favors. Gradual. For Yi Luyun, he no longer has any expectations. Just as then now, he simply did not believe that Yi Luyun would be so filial as to go looking for offerings for his ancestors. Must have gone off to do some crooked stuff with his fox friends again. Never mind, let's not talk about that sinful son. If he really gets into trouble, he'll definitely come back on his own accord, and by then, it'll still be up to me to wipe his ass. Yi Kangwu said with a gloomy face. Having said that, he was just about to make a pious offering to the ancestors of the Lingnan family, yet at this very moment, a sharp air-breaking sound came from the distant sky. Immediately after, under the gaze of Yi Kangwu and the others, an ancient spirit boat traveled in front of them. On top of the spirit boat, there was also a brocade-clothed young man with sword brows and extraordinary features. Yi Luyun? Looking at this arriving young man, Jiang Wuxian, who was paying attention within the ancestral tomb, also cast a surprised look. Yi Luyun, the only son of the Lingnan family. According to Yi Zhangqian's memories, despite his good qualifications, he was very unreliable in doing things and often acted recklessly outside, causing an unknown amount of trouble. If not for the Lingnan family's golden brand, as well as the ancestors left behind the favor and the remaining shade of shelter, I'm afraid that would have long been dead. Yi Luyun's reputation was not very good throughout the entire Great Zhou Divine Dynasty territory. Sinner, you know to come back? Today is the big day for my Lingnan family's ancestor sacrifice, where have you been fooling around again? As soon as he saw Yi Luyun, Yi Kangwu immediately split his head and reprimanded him. Who said I was out fooling around? Of course I know that today is the big day for ancestor sacrifice. The main reason I'm here now is because I've been delayed just because I was looking for sacrifices for my ancestors. Yi Luyun skimmed his mouth and replied, "Humph. With your dangling face, what kind of good offering can you find? Quickly stop embarrassing yourself here." Yi Kangwu continued to reprimand loudly. He simply didn't believe that Yi Luyun would be that filial and specialize in finding offerings for his ancestors. Even more so, he didn't believe that Yi Luyun would be able to find a good sacrifice. However, in the face of Yi Kangwu's skepticism, Yi Luyun but grunted in displeasure. "Who says I can't find a good offering? This time, I really did bring back a good treasure for my ancestors." Door banging shut. As he spoke, under the watchful eyes of Yi Kangwu and the others, he was seen slapping his storage bag and placing an ancient modeled black copper coffin on the ground. Chapter 4, The Great Desolate Empress of 30,000 Years Ago, the Northern Plains Wang Clan. A coffin? Looking at the offerings Yi Luyun took out, both Yi Kangwu and the others, as well as Jiang Wuxian, who was peering into the ancestral tomb, all revealed a stunned expression. Only. The shock on Yi Kangwu's face only lasted for a few moments before it was replaced by intense anger. The face is even more gloomy to the extreme. "Sinner, have you been digging up other people's graves again?" Yi Kangwu roared sternly. As he spoke, he flipped his hand and took out a leather whip, and with a swift momentum, he fiercely lashed towards Yi Luyun. The sharp cracking sound scared Yi Luyun into fleeing the spot in a flash. "Don't talk nonsense, old dad. I didn't dig up someone else's family's ancestral grave. This coffin was bought from a wandering merchant at a heavy cost of 100,000 divine stones. According to that wandering merchant, the owner of this coffin is Su Qinghuan, the last generation of female emperors of the Great Desolate God Dynasty, 30,000 years ago. It's a powerful extreme Dao God King. The old ancestors of my Yi family, who have been sleeping underground for tens of thousands of years, must have gotten lonely long ago. Therefore, I purposely spent a lot of money to buy the corpse of the Great Desolate Empress, so that she could go down to accompany the old ancestor." Yi Luyun hid in the distance and said loudly, "What? What's buried in this coffin is the Great Wasteland Empress from 30,000 years ago." Hear that? Whether it was the furious Yi Kangwu or Jiang Wuxian in the ancestral tomb, all of them were shaken to the core. Especially Jiang Wuxian, after hearing the name Great Desolate Empress Su Qinghuan, an intense divine light erupted from the bottom of his eyes. According to Yi Zhangtian's memories, a divine dynasty named Great Desolation did indeed appear within the Green Heaven domain 30,000 years ago. The current Great Zhou Divine Dynasty was built on the foundation of the original Great Desolate Divine Dynasty. Every emperor of the Great Desolate Divine Dynasty is a divine king. If what's buried in this coffin is really the Great Desolate Empress Su Qinghuan, then it's going to be a fortune. A female emperor of a divine dynasty is burdened with the entire divine dynasty's qi added to her body. If the qi of her life is plundered, it will definitely be able to cut down a large portion of the curse of the heavens. Moreover, on this coffin, there is no God King prohibition laid out, as if it has been deliberately erased. Jiang Wuxian's eyes stared tightly at the black copper coffin in the outside world. The moment. He couldn't wait and wanted to plunder the Great Desolate Empress's qi fortune from her life. Regarding Jiang Wuxian's thoughts, Yi Kangwu and the others in the outside world were naturally unaware of them. Compared to the Great Desolate Empress's coffin and corpse, they were more concerned about the ridiculous things Yi Luyun had done. Sins. 100,000 divine stones, and you actually took them to buy a meaningless corpse? Even if this corpse is the Great Desolate Empress from 30,000 years ago, so what? What substantial benefits can she bring to us, the Lingnan family? You loser. The ancestral family business of my Lingnan family will be lost to you sooner or later. You actually want to bury the Great Desolate Empress in the ancestral tomb and have her go down to serve my Yi family's ancestors? It's just ridiculous. Yi Kangwu, a life of fame, how back to give birth to such an unfilial son as you? Yi Kangwu pointed at Yi Luyun and cursed bitterly. 100,000 divine stones was already a very huge expense for the now defeated Lingnan family. One could even say that it hurts. Over the years, he had exhausted his efforts and energies, and it was with great difficulty that he had managed to accumulate such a small amount of family business. Now it was good that it was lost by Yi Luyun all of a sudden. This made Yi Kangwu furious. If he wasn't afraid that the Yi family would become extinct, he would have killed this unfilial loser long ago. Get out! Get out of here! I never want to see you again. Yi Kangwu, who had held his anger, growled harshly at Yi Luyun. Just go. It's just that it cost you a little divine stone. Why are you yelling so much? Those who don't know, would think that the Yi family has lost another ancestor. Yi Luyun muttered in a small voice. Say it. He was immediately about to leave with the coffin of the Great Desolate Empress. However, just at this moment, a powerful might suddenly came from the distant space. Phew! After an instant, a huge spirit boat broke through the air and 3 figures walked down from it. At the head of the group was a brocade-clothed youth. Behind him, he was followed by 2 fifth-order demigod men. Northern Plains Wang Clan, Wang Xuanzi. Seeing the visitor, Yi Luyun frowned. They're Lingnan family and the Northern Plains family, but the fight for thousands of years of deadly rivals, each other's relationship, very bad. Compared to the Lingnan family, which had a single lineage, the Baiyuan Wang clan was a flourishing family with many branches and leaves. And the family they belonged to was also very powerful in its heritage and strength, not weaker than the Lingnan family. If it wasn't for the Lingnan family having strong connections inherited from their ancestors, I'm afraid that they would have been swallowed up by the Northern Plains family long ago. At this time, seeing the first son of the Northern Plains Wang clan come was clearly not a good intention. Wang Xuanzi, your dog's nose is really smart. I just came back on the front foot and you found it with your dog's legs on the back foot? Humph. Don't think I don't know what you're up to. I've heard that during this time, you've been searching for female cultivators with strong qi, attempting to change your own destiny by pairing up in a yin marriage. What? Are you looking at my hands, this corpse of the great desolate empress? Yi Luyan broke the silence and snorted coldly. As a character who has been fooling around for years, he wins because he has a lot of foxes and friends, so he is very well informed. As soon as Wang Xuanzi arrived here, he knew what the other party was playing at. It must have taken a fancy to the corpse of the great wasteland empress. Fruity. In the face of Yi Luoyun's mockery and sneer, Wang Xuanzi did not feel the anger he had imagined, but instead nodded his head very calmly. You're right, I did come here for this corpse of the great desolate empress. Brother Yi, as long as you're willing to let me have the female emperor's corpse, I'm willing to pay 200,000 divine stones for it. And, I, the Northern Plains Wang clan, will no longer oppose your Lingnan family from now on, how about that? Wang Xuanzi said in a deep voice. Hee, you are still just one of the many heirs of the Wang family, can you represent the Wang family? Sure. I've now been established as the sole successor of the Wang family, and I've also sought the consent and authorization of the family head before I came. Therefore, what I say represents the Northern Plains Wang clan. What? You've become the sole successor of the Northern Plains Wang clan? Hearing this news, Yi Luyun was obviously very surprised. When did this happen, and why haven't I heard about it? Just this morning. No wonder. Learning that Wang Xuanzi was established as the successor of the Wang family this morning, Yi Luyan nodded in realization. At that time, he was still in Sunset Ancient City, fooling around with his foxy friends. Brother Yi, this time I've come with great sincerity, I hope you'll consider it carefully. You don't have any great use for keeping this empress corpse anyway, so you might as well let me have her and resolve the grudge between your family and mine. In this way, you get the benefits and favors, and I improve my qualifications and potential, won't it be the best of both worlds? Wang Xuanzi continued to persuade. And, as he spoke, he also directly placed 200,000 divine stones in front of Yi Luyun and the others. The mountain of divine stones bloomed with a brilliant divine light. Even Yi Luyun, this is the first time he has seen so many divine stones. However, although he was very keen on these divine stones, he was not stupid. Once Wang Xuanzi had obtained the corpse of the great desolate empress, and succeeded in his marriage, improving his qualifications and potential, he would surely bring great threats and scourges to their Yi family in the future. Therefore, he couldn't let Wang Xuanzi get the empress corpse. I'm sorry, but I'm going to keep the empress's corpse for myself. Since you, Wang Xuanzi, can match a yin marriage, why can't I, Yi Luyun? You go. The corpse of the empress, I'm not for sale. After letting out an icy snort, Yi Luyun refused without hesitation. In the face of right and wrong, he was still able to carry the weight. In the meantime, seeing Yi Luyun's lack of oil and salt, Wang Xuanzi's face gradually became gloomy. Here's to the penalty. Since Brother Yi won't cut me off, I'll have to do it myself. Men, go and snatch that coffin for me. He ordered coldly. The corpse of the great desolate empress, he was determined to get it. And with his order, the two fifth-order demigods behind him, who had long been ready, immediately swooped towards Yi Luyun in a furious manner. Chapter 5, Tai Xian Sword Qi, 10,000 years ancestor appears. Look out! Seeing the two fifth-order demigods, frantically killing Yi Luyun, Yi Kangwu, who was not far away, suddenly changed his complexion. Shoo away! Without any hesitation, he raised his hand and sacrificed an ancient black treasure tripod, wrapped in monstrous momentum and power, toward those two fifth-order demigods, suppressing them. Yellow Spring's treasure cauldron. Looking at the ancient cauldron that Yi Kangwu offered in his hands, Wang Xuanzi, who was watching from afar, instantly narrowed his eyes. In the bottom of his eyes, a rich blazing light swept through. This Yellow Spring treasure cauldron was a divine weapon. Although it was only at the level of a true god, it was imbued with powerful divine might and divine power, such a treasure that even the Northern Plains Wang clan did not have. Rumble! At this moment, Yi Kangwu, with the powerful Yellow Springs treasure cauldron, had not lost a single battle even with his cultivation of a fourth-order demigod. Instead, as time passed, the two fifth-order demigods he had brought along showed signs of not being able to support themselves. Watching this scene, Wang Xuanzi couldn't help but sigh in his heart at the Lingnan family's strong heritage. Worthy of being an ancient lineage that has been passed down for 30,000 years, even if it has been defeated to the extreme, the heritage it possesses is not something that ordinary people can imagine. If I get this Yellow Spring treasure cauldron, and then have the monstrous fortune of the great desolate empress to add to it, when the time comes. At the thought of that sight, a stern, ferocious light instantly erupted from the bottom of Wang Xuanzi's eyes. Click! While Yi Kangwu was fighting with the two fifth-order demigods, he was seen flipping his hand and taking out a green-colored sword talisman and crushing it. In an instant, a powerful and unrivaled shocking sword chi directly cut through the void and killed towards Yi Luyun in the distance. Oof. Trying to kill my son, do you really think I don't exist? Seeing that the sword chi was about to fall on Yi Luyun's body, in the nick of time, an icy female voice sounded. Phew! Only to see Yun Su Xayan's jade hand lifting, a flash of green light suddenly bloomed from her palm, transforming into an ancient scroll, blocking in front of Yi Luyun. Boom! The sword chi and the scroll collided, erupting into a fierce astral wind with each other, and despite the sharpness of the sword chi, the scroll seemed to possess an extremely powerful defense. In the end, the sword chi inspired by Wang Xuanzi was resisted as much as possible by Yun Susan's scroll. See this? Wang Xuanzi's face became more and more gloomy for a minute. Rather, I forgot about your mountain and river map. However, with just your third stage demigod power, I wonder if you can resist this sword talisman of mine? As he spoke, he only saw Wang Xuanzi violently take out another jade talisman and crush it. Subsequently, a sword chi that was more than 10 times more powerful than just now abruptly rushed out from the jade talisman and killed Yi Luyun with a furious momentum. Taishian Sword Chi, 7th Order Demigod. Feeling the monstrous power emanating from the sword chi, Yun Su Xayan's complexion abruptly changed. The same. Yi Kangwu, who was fighting with two fifth-order demigods, also sensed Yi Luyun's crisis at this moment. Ryun, be careful. He let out a blinding roar. However, he was already entangled by two fifth-order demigods at the moment, so he couldn't be separated from them at all. Even if he was able to disengage himself, with his cultivation of a fourth-stage demigod, combined with the divine weapon Yellow Spring Treasure Cauldron, he would not be able to fight against this Taishian Sword Chi. The end result is inevitably decapitation. Humph. Want to protect your son? In your next life. If I didn't have complete certainty, as well as all the preparations, how would I dare to come to your Lingnan family and snatch the corpse of the great desolate empress? Wang Xuanzi laughed hideously and coldly. He was very clear about the powerful underpinnings of the Lingnan family, so before he came, he had specially talked to the clan's old ancestor and begged for a Taishian sword talisman. Inside this Taishian sword talisman, the full force of a 7th order demigod strike was sealed, and even if Yi Kangwu and the others had heavenly abilities, they would definitely not be able to withstand it. The development of the facts, and indeed as Wang Xuanzi predicted that. Boom! As the powerful and unparalleled Taishian sword chi chopped down, the scroll that Yun Su Xayan had offered up was suddenly torn apart by the sword chi. And then, the rigid and incomparable sword chi, with the momentum of breaking bamboo, madly chopped towards Yi Luyun at the back. Dying? Feeling that terrifying sword chi coming, Yi Luyun's sweaty hairs all over his body, all of them exploded. A wave of unprecedented panic and fear instantly surged from the bottom of his heart and swept around him, causing him to forget to resist at once. No. At the same time, the two of them, Yi Kangwu and Yun Suxin, both let out hoarse howls of grief. They wanted to save Yi Luyun. However, everything seemed to be too late, and one could only watch the Taishian sword chi fall on Yi Luyun's body. The scene. It makes them, eyeball to eyeball. Yi Kangwu, Yun Susan, and Li Tianshan were all filled with despair within their hearts. The moment. Yi Luyun seems to have certain death. Only, they had forgotten that in the ancestral tomb of the Lingnan family, there was still an old ancestor who had lived for 10,000 years. Humph. North Plains Wang clan, how dare you come to my Lingnan family to kill people? Just as Yi Kangwu and the others were in shock and despair, a cold and hoarse voice violently resounded through the heavens and earth. Immediately after, they then saw that the ferocious and incomparable Taishian sword chi, when it was about to land on Yi Luyun, suddenly collapsed. It looked as if it had been hardened by a strong force. That voice just now, does it mean that the Lingnan family still has strong people above the 8th order demigod? Looking at this sudden turn of events, Wang Xuanzi was immediately startled. The same. Yi Kangwu and Yun Suxin, among others, also revealed a look of astonishment. Rumbling. Just as they were puzzled, all of a sudden, they only saw the dusty ancestral tomb in front of them, which had been sealed for thousands of years, being slowly opened amidst a loud roar. And then, a middle-aged man in Xian clothes, full of the aura of the vicissitudes of age, walked out from the ancestral tomb with his hands behind his back. Ancestors? Ancestors? Looking at the magnificent man who walked out of the ancestral tomb, Yi Kangwu's eyes widened. He remembered the portraits of all the ancestors of the Lingnan family very well. According to Yi Kangwu's memories, the man in front of him was clearly the 18th generation ancestor of the Lingnan family, Yi Zhangtian. Didn't this ancestor die 8,000 years ago? How can his old man still be alive? Yi Kangwu was shocked to the core. Jiang Wushan's appearance completely overturned his perception and imagination. However, at this time, Jiang Wushan didn't have the heart to pay attention to Yi Kangwu's and their reactions, as his cold and indifferent eyes silently gazed at Wang Xuanzi in front of him. The guts of the Wang family are getting bigger and bigger. 8,000 years ago, this seed left Wang Jingtian a dog's life, but I didn't expect to be bitten by a dog today instead. A voice that was flat to the extreme slowly came out. Hiss. Upon hearing this, Wang Xuanze was instantly scared out of his wits. Wang Jingtian was the founder of their Northern Plains Wang clan, and was even a 10th order demigod in his lifetime. What Wang Xuanze couldn't imagine was that the person in front of him actually knew their Wang family, their ancestor from 8,000 years ago. Could it be that this person has lived for 8,000 years? At the thought of this, Wang Xuanze couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Knock. In shock, his entire body directly fell to his knees. Senior Wang Xuanze, greetings to Senior Yi. This sudden offense is really unintentional. Please forgive Senior for the sake of my Northern Plains Wang clan. Wang Xuanze was ostensibly trying to make amends, but in reality, he wanted to use the might of the Northern Plains Wang clan to deter Jiang Wuxian. Only, before he could finish his words, he was directly pierced through his chest by a powerful and unrivaled sword qi, twisted out of all life. Grand Duke! Grand Duke! Seeing that Wang Xuanze had been destroyed by Jiang Wuxian with the lift of his hand, the 5th order demigods who were fighting Yi Kangwu in the distance suddenly changed their complexion. Withdraw! The two of them glanced at each other, and immediately gave up fighting with Yi Kangwu, and ran away in 2 different directions, at their fastest speed. However, they wanted to leave, but they still had to ask Jiang Wuxian if he would agree. Shoo shoo! Just as the two men had just turned around, Jiang Wuxian flexed his fingers and flicked out 2 great 5-element sword qi, severing their heads in the air. Chapter 6, The World Robber, the King Will Not Abandon. Lingnan family, 33rd generation descendant Yi Kangwu, pay respects to the old ancestor. Yi Lu Yun, pay respects to the old ancestor. Yun Su Xin, pay respects to the old ancestor. Seeing that Jiang Wuxian had strongly exterminated Wang Xuanze and the others, Yi Kangwu, who had already regained his senses at this point, immediately came to the front and bowed respectfully. Inside, there was a surge of infinite surprise and excitement. He really hadn't thought that the Lingnan family actually had a powerful ancestor that survived. Not only him, but the other people present were also filled with excitement and awe as they knelt before Jiang Wuxian. Old ancestor, it is said that you were not 8,000 years ago, already. Do you wish for the death of this seat that much? No, the old ancestor is the prime pillar of my Lingnan family. Yi Kangwu expects the old ancestor to be too late for the ages. How would he be? In fear, Yi Kangwu continuously bowed heavily. That look, fearing that Jiang Wuxian, the ancestor, would blame him. In fact, Jiang Wuxian didn't have any interest in him. What he was really interested in was Yi Luyun. This corpse of the great desolate empress, where did you find it? Reporting back to old ancestor, the corpse of the great desolate empress is something I bought from a wandering merchant in Sunset Ancient City. Old ancestor, forgive me, Yi Luyun didn't mean to offend the ancestor, it's really me. Facing this ancestor who had suddenly appeared, although Yi Luyun felt incomparable curiosity in his heart, more than anything else, he was still in awe and horror. So, under the majesty of his ancestor, the originally untouchable man was trembling like a mouse seeing a cat. Looking at his terrified appearance, Jiang Wuxian's heart burst with amusement, but on the surface, he remained in an indifferent stance. Wandering merchants? He murmured something pretentiously deep, his words filled with confusion. Yes, old ancestor. That wandering merchant has mysterious origins, and is said to come to the desolate ancient great world every 100 years or so, with elusive movements. This time, it happened to appear in Sunset Ancient City. So, I spent 100,000 divine stones to buy this great desolate empress's corpse from his hands. Seemingly hearing the curiosity in Jiang Wuyun's mind, Yi Luyun immediately explained respectfully. Hear that? Jiang Wuxian nodded slightly, and a strong interest in this mysterious wandering merchant rose in his heart. Since he was able to take out the corpse of the great desolate empress, then perhaps there were other strong corpses in his hands. Thinking about it, Jiang Wuxian couldn't help but be moved in his heart. That wandering merchant, is he still in Sunset Ancient City today? This should still be around. According to the news circulating in the past, every time a wandering merchant appears, he stays for about 3 months and sells all kinds of strange and weird things. This time, the wandering merchant appeared in Sunset Ancient City 3 days ago, so he should still be there. Yi Luyun replied respectfully. Words. Jiang Wuxian nodded in satisfaction. This seat is interested in that wandering merchant, so take this seat on a journey at once. Say it. Jiang Wuxian waved his large sleeve, taking the corpses of Wang Xuanze and the others, as well as the 200,000 divine stones that were piled up on the ground, and putting them all into his storage bag. After that, he grabbed Yi Luyun and drove the spirit boat to break through the air. Just a blink of an eye, and disappeared in front of the crowd. Truly God has blessed my Lingnan family. I didn't expect that an ancestor would still be alive in the middle of the ancestral tomb. This time, if it wasn't for the timely revival of the ancestor, his old man, I'm afraid that my Lingnan family would have suffered a catastrophe. After Jiang Wuxian left, Yi Kangwu murmured in an incomparably excited tone. Regarding his words, the two beside him, Yun Susan and Li Tianshan, both thought deeply. Until this moment, there was still a strong aftershock in their hearts. Brother Wu, has this old ancestor of our Lingnan family lived for 8,000 years? After a few moments of silence, Yun Suxin could not hold back the curiosity in her heart and opened her mouth to ask. Aha! Yi Kangwu nodded heavily. 10,000 years alive, to be exact. In the ancestral shrine of our Lingnan family, portraits of our ancestors from all generations are enshrined, and among them, there is a portrait that belongs to the old ancestor. He is the 18th generation ancestor of the Yi family, Yi Xingtian. According to the Yi family's genealogy, old ancestor Yi Xingtian sat down 8,000 years ago, and I didn't expect to still be alive to this day. When it's really unbelievable. Speaking of this, Yi Kangwu was also filled with awe. Brother Sycamore, are you remembering wrong? Hasn't the Lingnan family carried a curse for generations, where all their descendants and clansmen, for all eternity, are unable to become gods? Therefore, old ancestor Hidden Sky he is still a demigod. The limit of a demigod's lifespan is only about 1,000 years, only a true god's lifespan can reach 10,000 years. Old ancestor Hidden Sky, how did he live to be 10,000 years old? This doesn't make sense. Yunsu Xin issued a question. Demigods, it's simply impossible to live up to 10,000 years. This reasoning, Yi Kangwu naturally knew, however, he did not delve too deeply into this. What's the point of thinking so much? Since old ancestor Hidden Sky has managed to live for so long, he definitely has heavenly abilities and means, we don't need to ask more questions. In the future, with the old ancestor's shelter, the Lingnan family's difficult days will never return. Family, revitalization is expected, ha ha ha. Yi Kangwu laughed in surprise. Go, let's hurry back. When the old ancestor comes out of the world, we must receive his old man and then celebrate. Speaking. He greeted Yunsu Xian and Li Tianshan, and the three of them rushed back to the Lingnan family as fast as they could. The other side. Under Yi Liuyun's leadership, after half a day's flight, spanning a distance of 18,000 miles, Zhang Wuxian finally arrived at the Sunset Ancient City. The ancient city of Sunset, adjacent to the Doomsday Forbidden Zone. This place was much more lively than the Eight Wastelands city where the Lingnan family was located. There was an endless stream of cultivators traveling to and from the city. These people, for the most part, were heading to the Forbidden Zone of Doom to seek opportunities and creation. However, only a handful of them are really able to obtain the chance. A few moments later, Zhang Wuxian followed Yi Liuyun's guidance and found the mysterious wandering merchant at the edge of a lake in Sunset Ancient City. At this point, there were a large number of cultivators that were surrounding him in front of his stall. Old ancestor, that person would be the wandering merchant who walks in the desolate ancient great world. He has a multitude of rare things in his hands. Only, this person has a weird temper and is asking for an extremely expensive price, not good to get along with. Yi Liyun pointed to a mysterious man wearing a cloak and mask in front of him and whispered, "Hear that?" Zhang Wuxian also landed his astonished and curious gaze on the wandering merchant. World bandit, June will not give up. As he looked at the wandering merchant, under the reflection of the Devil's Way panel, there was information about the other party's identity that immediately presented itself in his mind. This guy, it's a bandit who walks the worlds. But anything of value, he took. To actually be able to travel between worlds, this June Buxia is very extraordinary. Zhang Wuxian secretly sighed in his heart. In particular, according to the message that came back from the Devil's Dao panel, the wandering merchant in front of him, named June Buxia, was also a powerful extreme Dao God King. I don't know, he doesn't have the corpse of a powerful person like the Great Desolate Empress in his hands yet. After slightly surveying the area for a few moments, Zhang Wuxian took a step over. Arriving before June Wuxia's stall, like the other cultivators present, Zhang Wuxian also turned his gaze towards the many items on the stall. Just as Yi Luyun had said, June Buki's stall was filled with all sorts of strange and bizarre items. Many of them were never seen by Zhang Wuxian. But, with the help of the Devil's Path panel, the information of the various items on the stall were all presented before his eyes one by one. In here, there were treasures used by mortals, as well as divine weapons, heavenly materials, divine pills, and so on at the level of true gods. Look at Zhang Wuxian's eyes. It's all good stuff. However, all of these things must be worth a lot of money, and with my current financial resources, I simply cannot afford them. Stuff like this. Just as Zhang Wuxian was lamenting the many treasures in front of him, suddenly, his eyes snapped. A pair of eyes that landed on top of an ancient black tile jar. Chapter 7 Extreme Innate Treasure, Devil's Jar. The tile jar was about a foot tall, pitted on the surface, and looked as plain as an ordinary tile jar in the mundane world. But any cultivator with a bit of insight wouldn't even give it a second glance. Anyone who sees it will think it's just the most ordinary tile jar. Even Zhang Wuxian thought the same thing before. However, just as the Devil's Dao panel reflected the specific information of the tile jar, Zhang Wuxian's entire body was stunned. This plain-looking black tile jar in front of him was not only not trash, but was instead a world-defying treasure. Its name, it's called the Magic Jar. Name, Magic Jar. Level, True God. Quality, Excellent Innate Treasure. Introduction. Originating from the great world of gods and demons, the innate treasure nurtured by heaven and earth is the strongest magic treasure in the level of the true gods. There is no one. 1. Devouring. The Devil's Jar can devour all substances at the level of a true god, plundering their essence and strengthening itself. 2. Melting. The Magic Jar can melt all substances at the level of a true god. 3. Repair. The magic jar can repair all crippled items at the true god level, restoring them to their most perfect state. 4. Reinforcement. The magic pot can reinforce all items at the true god level 100-fold, raising their level and quality. Remarks. Once you have it, you can't ask for anything else in this life. Hiss. Looking at the information presented by the magic jar, Jiang Wuxian couldn't help but take a deep breath at once, and his heart was even more shaken. The moment. He was also shocked by the devil jar's heaven-defying power and attributes. Tisk. This devil jar is actually an innate treasure? Moreover, these 4 attributes are simply heaven-defying. In the hands of Jun Buki, there is even such a good thing? A radiant essence erupted from the bottom of Jiang Wuxian's eyes. This magic jar was definitely the most valuable treasure on the stall. Even if everything was added together, it wouldn't compare to a single hair of it. Fellow Daiwist, how is this jar sold? Suppressing the shock and agitation within him, Jiang Wuxian asked out loud in a light and calm tone. Words. Jun Buxia, who was sitting cross-legged at the back of the stall, raised his head to look at him. You can't afford it. A cold and hoarse voice came out from under the cloak. Hiccup. I can't afford it? In the face of this outright contempt from Jun Buki, Jiang Wuxian was instantly a little embarrassed. Shopkeeper, this is just an ordinary tile jar, how much can it be worth? And you say we can't afford it, you're underestimating people, aren't you? This jar of yours, can it be worth 1 divine stone? No, half a godstone is too much for me. Jiang Wuxian didn't say anything, but Yi Luyun on the side was unwilling. Immediately, he chattered and theorized with Jun Buki. He would never allow anyone to underestimate his old ancestor. Not to mention, he really couldn't see what was so special about this ordinary tile jar. Something like that would be too shabby to take to a stew. At least, he couldn't see it. While facing Yi Luyun's ridicule and questioning, Jun Buki did not say anything and sat in place by himself, completely ignoring him. Shopkeeper, my old ancestor has taken a fancy to this jar, I'll offer a divine stone. Shut up! Seeing that Yi Luyun was still harping on bargaining, Jiang Wuxian became more and more embarrassed in his heart. At this point, he could already tell that Jun Wuxia definitely knew the origin and value of this magic jar. When Yi Luyun said this, he could only look like he and the others had no vision or insight, just like a clown. Therefore, he stopped Yi Luyun in time. As soon as Jiang Wuxian spoke, Yi Luyun instantly and obediently shut his mouth and honestly stood aside, no longer speaking. Fellow Taoist, I really like this jar, even though you think I can't afford it, but there has to be a price. Let me know how big the gap is. After a slight silence, Jiang Wuxian continued to ask. Told you, you can't afford it. This devil jar is an extremely precious innate treasure. Its value is simply not something that earthly substances can measure. Therefore, I don't want divine stones, nor heavenly treasures, nor divine weapon spells, but only longevity. One price, 20,000 years of life. In your current state, your chi and blood have decayed to the extreme, your life force has dried up, and you will definitely die within 2 months. You simply can't get what I want. Jun Buxia's indifferent voice sounded in his head. What? 20,000 years of life? Hearing this price, Jiang Wuxian was first stunned, followed by a bitter expression. He really can't afford it if it only takes longevity. Jun Buxia really does know the value of this demon jar. It seems like picking up the pieces if you want to is out of the question. Still, it's not entirely hopeless to buy it out. As long as I cultivate into a true god, with the blessing of the longevity lattice, I will have a lifespan of 100,000 years at that time. Taking out 20,000 years of lifespan in exchange for an unattainable innate treasure like the demon jar is still very worthwhile. So the most important thing at hand is back to square one. First, we must break the curse of the heavens on our bodies, and then raise our destiny to cultivate into a true god. Jiang Wuxian kept calculating in his mind. For today, one could only rely on the corpses of those ancestors of the Lingnan family. As long as one plundered the chi of their lives, one might not be without a chance. Fellow Taoist, may I have a moment to speak? Just because I don't have what you want at the moment doesn't mean I won't have it later. Jiang Wuxian transmitted his voice meaningfully. Hearing these words, Jun Wuxia raised his head and gave him a somewhat surprised look. Yes. After gazing at Jiang Wuxian for a long time, Jun Wuxia nodded. Afterward, he collected the numerous items on the stall in front of him and turned to a hidden place alone with Jiang Wuxian. Fellow Taoist, that tile jar of yours, I do like it very much, and it is indeed a rare and supreme treasure. However, right now I can't get the 20,000 years of life you want, but if you're willing to wait for me for a while, I might be able to get it. Jiang Wuxian opened the door and said, How long is the wait? How about in 3 months? Yes. I'll be in this sunset ancient city for 3 months. As long as you can come up with what I want within 3 months, the magic jar will be yours. Say it. Jun Buki was then ready to turn around and leave. Fellow Taoist, please stay. It's like this, I'd like to ask you, Taoist friend, to do me a favor and open these coffins. Rolling. As he spoke, Jiang Wuxian waved his large hand and numerous bronze coffins instantly appeared on the ground in front of him. These, all of them, were brought out by him from the ancestral tomb of the Lingnan family. 100,000 divine stones, and I'll help you erase the prohibitions on these coffins. Yes. Without any hesitation, Jiang Wuxian directly ordered 100,000 divine stones and handed them to Junbuki. As a wandering businessman, profit always comes first. Shoo, shoo, shoo. After collecting the 100,000 divine stones handed over by Jiang Wuxian, Jun Wuxia didn't say anything, only to see him wave his big sleeve and a large swathe of sword chi surged out, enveloping all the bronze coffins. With his powerful God King strength, just by lifting his hand, he erased the prohibition on top of the bronze coffin. See this. Jiang Wuxian was instantly overjoyed. This 100,000 divine stones, spend 2 worth. Do you have anything else? Well, I'd like to ask, do you have any more corpses of characters like the Great Desolate Empress in your hands? I'm willing to pay a high price for it if there is one. Jiang Wuxian pondered for a few moments, and with a hint of anticipation, asked. Words. Junbuki shook his head. The body of the Empress, for now. I can keep an eye out for you in the future if you need it. Aha, then thank you, fellow Daoist. By the way, fellow Daoist, is it convenient to leave a contact information? When the time comes, if there are any good things, you can contact me directly. Speaking, Jiang Wuxian handed out his summoning stone. It was a very magical item that allowed communication and exchange as long as they were imprinted with each other's souls. In response to this request from Jiang Wuxian, Jun Wuxia stared at him for a moment, then took out his own summoning stone and exchanged soul imprints with each other. Do it all. Jun Wuxia then turned around and left, continuing to return to his original stall and began selling various treasures. The same. Jiang Wuxian wasn't idle either. After greeting Yi Luyun, he found a quiet place in the Sunset Ancient City and began to draw on the chi of those ancestors of the Lingnan family during their lifetime. Chapter 8, Mythical Deeds, Ancient Kingdom of the East Pole. Chi luck plus 10,000 points. Chi luck plus 20,000 points. Luck plus 18,000 points. Chi luck plus 30,000 points. Lingyun Pavilion. The biggest pastime in the old city of Sunset. At this point, Jiang Wuxian sat in an ancient room, concentrating fully on drawing on the chi of the many corpses during their lives. Under the magical power of the netherworld chi eating technique, a majestic stream of chi began to surge towards him like a tidal wave. In a flash, the chi luck value on the Devil Dao panel skyrocketed at a speed visible to the naked eye. 3 days later, when Jiang Wuxian plundered all of the ancestors of the Lingnan family, as well as the Great Desolate Empress's chi during her lifetime, he gained a total of 36 million chi values. Does it consume chi to get rid of the curse imposed by the heavens? The familiar cue, once again, rang out from the back of his mind. But, Jiang Wuxian did not respond, but instead locked his gaze on the Devil Dao panel. At this moment, under the circumstances of having majestic chi, Yi Xingtian's character panel, some magical changes also appeared. Item, Great 5 Elements Sword Formation, Extreme Treasure Plus, Curse, 99. 32%, plus. A plus sign appeared behind the Great 5 Elements Sword Formation. Jiang Wuxian naturally knew the meaning of this mysterious plus sign by heart. This showed that the various items he owned could also be upgraded by adding points to them through the consumption of chi. Only, at present, Jiang Wuxian's most urgent need was to get rid of the curse of the heavens, and the magic treasure, no matter how powerful it was, would be of no use to the current him. So, after taking a few glances, Jiang Wuxian used all of his chi to get rid of the curse. You have consumed 72,360,000 points of chi, and the curse of the heavens carried on your body has been effectively suppressed. Currently remaining, 96%. Looking at the hints that surfaced in his mind, Jiang Wuxian sighed slightly. The Great Desolate Empress's chi fortune during her lifetime was very strong, bringing him over 50 million chi values. However, even with the addition of all the ancestors of the Lingnan family, there was still a distance to go before the curse was completely dispelled from their bodies. It would be nice to have another corpse of a character like the Great Desolate Empress. He let out a dark sigh. Thinking about it, Jiang Wuxian seemed to have thought of something and took out an ancient and mysterious yellow paper from inside the storage bag he was carrying. On top of the yellow paper, there were mysterious patterns and incantations imprinted, and unintelligible words were written. This was what he had found from the coffin of the Lingnan family, an ancestor named Yi Tianji. Name, Mythical Deed. Level, Heavenly God. Introduction, 1. A mythical land deed written by an ancient great avatar, by means and greatness of the world, with the use of which one can telephone a mythical graveyard. 2. But any heavenly deity buried in this mythological graveyard, their descendants will be able to acquire their entire cultivation during their lifetime. Remarks, disposable item. This mythical land deed is also an unrivaled divine artifact. It's just a shame that it doesn't work on me. The Lingnan family carries the curse of the heavens on their backs and will never be allowed to become a god, and even if they use this mythical earth deed and bury their heavenly god ancestors, they will not be able to obtain strong cultivation and power. However, although it's useless to the Lingnan family, it's possible to give it to someone else to use. As long as you bury your own heavenly god ancestor inside the mythic graveyard, you can access the entire cultivation of the other person's life. For any power, this is a heavenly temptation and creation. If used properly, this object will surely bring me great benefits. Looking at the mythical land deed in his hand, Jiang Wushan fell into deep thought. The moment he pondered how to maximize the benefits of this mythic land deed, Thud. It was also just as he was gazing at his brow and thought that suddenly there was a knock on the door of the room. Old ancestor, something has happened to the Lingnan family. Father has just made contact and asked your old man to return immediately. Yi Liuyun's slightly anxious voice came from outside the door. Something happened to the Lingnan family? Hearing this, Jiang Wushan frowned. Can it be that it's someone from the Northern Plains Wang clan, coming over to retaliate? His first thought was that the Northern Plains Wang clan had come over to take revenge. After all, before that, he had exterminated the successor of the Northern Plains Wang clan, Wang Xuanzi, and the other party shouldn't be able to let this go. Come in. What in the world has happened? Could it be the Northern Plains Wang clan's people fighting over here? He asked in a deep voice to Yi Luyun. Words. Yi Luyun took a deep breath, then shook his head. Old ancestor, the Northern Plains Wang clan didn't fight over. This time, it's the people from the eastern extremity ancient kingdom who came to the door. According to father, the other party came for some kind of land deed. I think it's called mythical land deed? Recently, the East Extreme Ancient Kingdom has just lost a heavenly god kingdom lord, and is busy collecting bodies for burial. The East Pole Ancient Kingdom? They actually knew about the existence of the mythic ground deed? Hearing Yi Liuyun's words, Jiang Wushan, who was considering how to use the mythical earth deed, felt a surge of surprise in his heart. He didn't expect good things to come to him so quickly. According to Yi Zhangtian's memories, the East Pole Ancient Kingdom was a kingdom under the Great Zhou Divine Dynasty that had been passed down for 18,000 years, and was extremely strong in terms of heritage and power. Every single country lord of the East Extreme Ancient Kingdom was at a cultivation level of 10th order heavenly god or above. There's a lot to be said for that. The East Extreme Ancient Kingdom has a huge power, so if it passes through their hands, they will definitely be able to collect more powerful corpses for me. At that time, the lack of chi luck value won't be a worry. Think about it. He didn't hesitate, and immediately packed up and left Sunset Ancient City with Yi Luyun at the fastest speed possible. Half a day later, Jiang Wushan returned to the Lingnan family. When he stepped into the family hall, he only saw a large group of unfamiliar figures that came into view. Those who came, 12 in all. Aside from a white-robed man who was an extreme true god, the rest of the 11 people were all strong at the heavenly god realm. Also, in the center position of the Great Hall, there was also an ancient black copper coffin with a powerful heavenly god's prohibition on it. East Pole Ancient Kingdom, Lin Wuduan. Sweeping his eyes over the 12 people present, Jiang Wushan landed his attention on the young man in white. This person was the current crown prince of the East Extreme Ancient Kingdom. As for the dead man buried inside the black bronze coffin, it was Lin Qingxian, the lord of the East Extreme Ancient Kingdom, as well as Lin Wuchen's father. Old ancestor, you finally returned. The state lord of the East Extreme Ancient Kingdom unfortunately collapsed and died, and Crown Prince Lin Wuchen heard somewhere that my Lingnan family has a mythical land deed, so he came to request that the state lord be buried. Old ancestor, about that mythical land deed, it's nothing more than a legend passed down by my Lingnan family. Even I don't know if it's real or not, I can't even get it out. Seeing that Jiang Wushan had returned, Yi Kangwu immediately came quickly and introduced the cause of the matter with a bitter smile. To this, Jiang Wushan nodded flatly, and then he sat down on the first seat of the Great Hall. Same time, Lin Wuchen and the others present were also filled with wonder and shock as they sized up Jiang Wushan. They were curious as to why Jiang Wushan, a demigod, was able to live to 10,000 years and still not die. The intentions of all of you have been understood by the old man. Regarding the mythical land deed circulated by my Lingnan family, it is indeed true. This mythic earth deed can illuminate a mythic graveyard. As long as a heavenly deity is buried in it, the descendants' children will be able to obtain all of their cultivation in life. What? Do mythical deeds really exist? Hearing this, Yi Kang's eyes widened with incredulity. He had originally thought that it was just a legend, but how did he know that it was actually true? The same. After hearing Jiang Wushan's words, Lin Wuduan and the others were also energized, all of them looking at him closely with blazing eyes. The mythic land deed, only my Lingnan family can activate it. It's just that the Lingnan family was cursed by the heavens, and all of their descendants and clansmen will not be allowed to become gods for all eternity. Therefore, this mythical deed is not of much use to us. If the East Pole Ancient Kingdom needs it, I can be the one to give you the mythic land deed. However, I have 3 conditions. Jiang Wushan said nonchalantly. Chapter 9 Breaking the Yoke of the Heavens and Changing Destiny. Elder, please. As long as it does not violate principles and morality, and it is something that I, the ancient kingdom of the East Pole, can do, the widow will comply. Lin Wuchen was silent for a few moments and replied with a calm face. The mythical land deed, as a treasure that had been passed down from generation to generation in the Lingnan family, naturally there was a price to pay if you wanted to obtain it. To this, Lin Wuduan had long been mentally prepared for this. When Jiang Wushan's voice rang out, he was not surprised or astonished, but instead was very calm. And with Lin Wuchen's statement, Jiang Wushan didn't hide anything and directly stated the conditions he had thought of. First, the East Extreme Ancient Kingdom must harbor the Lingnan family. As long as the Dongji Ancient Kingdom exists, it must shelter the Lingnan family from enemies and intrusions. Second, the East Extreme Ancient Kingdom must collect at least 3,000 true god corpses in the next month and send them to the Lingnan family. It would certainly be better if there were corpses of heavenly gods or god kings. As for the third thing, I haven't thought about it yet, so I will wait until another day when my Lingnan family has a need, and then make a request to the Eastern Extreme Ancient Kingdom. Those are my terms. What does the Lord of the Land think? Jiang Wushan's flat voice resounded in the Great Hall. Hear that? Lin Wuchen did not respond immediately, but pondered carefully until a few moments later, when he nodded. Yes. From now on, the East Extreme Ancient Kingdom will fully shelter the Lingnan family, and within the limits of its strength, guarantee that the Lingnan family will not be harmed or intruded upon by its enemies. As for collecting 3,000 true god corpses within a month, this matter is a bit difficult and somewhat time-critical, but the widow will do her best. The third condition, as long as it's something that I, the East Extreme Ancient Kingdom, can do, I promise that I won't push back. Any Aaron clansman of the Lingnan family can, with this request, have one thing done by the Dongji Ancient Kingdom. Lin Wuduan replied forcefully. The East Extreme Ancient Kingdom was incredibly powerful and rich, sheltering a demigod family like the Lingnan family was not a difficult task at all. As for the 3,000 corpses of true gods that Jiang Wushan had requested, although he didn't know what they were used for, Lin Wuduan didn't ask much. All he wants is the deed to the mythic land. Nothing has anything to do with him. Jiang Wushan was still very satisfied with his alacrity. The Lord of the Land is truly a great spirit. Only, words are not proof. In order to show the sincerity of the East Pole Ancient Kingdom, I would also like to ask the Kingdom Lord to swear by the Heavenly Tao. In this way, I, the Lingnan family, will be able to hand over the mythic land deed with confidence. Jiang Wushan continued. Yes. At this request of his, Lin Wuduan frowned a little, but he eventually agreed. Subsequently, in the presence of all the people, he swore an oath to the heavens in the name of the Eastern Extreme Ancient Kingdom, and with the constraints of the rules of the Heavenly Tao, the promises made before could not be reversed. Otherwise, they will be sanctioned by the Heavenly Tao. Elder, can you hand over the mythical land deed to us now? Of course. The State Lord is a great master of the world, and under the State Lord's leadership, in the future, the East Extreme Ancient Kingdom will definitely be extremely brilliant and glorious. I hereby congratulate the Lord of the Land in advance. Having gotten what he wanted, a smile appeared on Jiang Wushan's face. Present. He handed the mythical land deed to Lin Wuduan. This mythic land deed requires a member of my Lingnan family to activate it and is karmically connected to each other. Yi Kangwu, you will follow the State Lord to the East Extreme Ancient Kingdom later and help the State Lord complete the aftermath. Jiang Wushan commanded in a deep voice. Strike that. He ignored the crowd's reaction and disappeared in a flash. In the meantime, after obtaining the mythical land deed, Lin Wuchen and his group didn't stay too long and immediately left the Lingnan family. State Lord, this Lingnan family is nothing more than a demigod family. Why are you so polite with him? With the prestige of our East Extreme Ancient Kingdom, even if we send an ordinary true god over, I'm sure their Lingnan family wouldn't dare to make a scene. What need is there for the Lord of the Land to come himself? After leaving the Lingnan family, a powerful heavenly deity beside him asked in disbelief. In his thoughts, he could completely grab the mythic land deed with his strength, and there was no need to waste his words with the Lingnan family. In response to his words, Lin Wuchen coldly hummed. In your eyes, are both the widow and the ancient kingdom of the East Pole the kind of shameless people who bully others with their power? No. My humble servant has made a slip of the tongue, please forgive me, Lord of the Kingdom. That heavenly god fell to his knees in fear, his expression terrified. The Lingnan family, even though it's just an ordinary demigod family, but to be able to inherit for 30,000 years, wouldn't it be that simple? With 30,000 years of inheritance, I don't know how many relationships and connections have been accumulated. If the oligarchs forcefully snatch it, it's inevitable that it won't invite trouble for the East Extreme Ancient Kingdom. In addition, the mythic land deed is karmically linked to the Lingnan family, so once the mythic land deed is seized, it might involve a huge amount of karma. The Lingnan family is cursed by the heavens, and if this causes the East Extreme Ancient Kingdom to be cursed as well, then it would be more than worth it. Lin Wuchen sighed in a low tone. Why wouldn't he want to get the mythical land deed without any effort? But in fact, it wasn't as easy as he thought. He didn't dare take the risk. Besides, the conditions that Jiang Wushan had put forth were not that harsh. In that case, he didn't mind being a good guy. Pass the order down, edict the current head of the Lingnan family, Yi Kangwu, as the king of Lingnan. In the future, anyone who makes an enemy of the Lingnan family will be crushed by the East Extreme Ancient Kingdom. In addition, exhaust the entire country's efforts and make sure to collect 3,000 true god corpses within a month and send them to the Lingnan family. Yes, sir. The crowd of heavenly deities responded. When Lin Wuchen returned to the East Extreme Ancient Kingdom, these two decrees were swiftly issued to all parts of the country, quickly spreading throughout the entire Great Zhou Divine Dynasty with the momentum of a wildfire starting a prairie fire. Lin Wuduan is quite quick to act. According to the power of the East Extreme Ancient Kingdom, it shouldn't be too difficult to collect 3,000 true god corpses in a month. If everything goes well, in a month's time, I'll be able to get rid of the curse of the heavens on my body. At that time, it will be possible to change Yi Zhangtian's current destiny, and transfer everythin he has to my father. Lingnan family. After learning about the news from the East Extreme Ancient Kingdom, Jiang Wuxian was filled with anticipation within his heart. Actually, Lin Wuxian didn't go back on his word and didn't let him down. 1 month later, the Eastern Extremity Ancient Kingdom had poured out the entire nation's strength and managed to collect 3,000 true god corpses and delivered them to the Lingnan family as expected. And, among these corpses, there were also dozens of heavenly god corpses. Jiang Wuxian was greatly energized by this result. After explaining to Yi Kangwu and the others, he locked himself within the ancestral tomb, concentrating fully on drawing on the qi of these corpses during their lifetime. The Yi family's ancestral tomb. It took Jiang Wuxian half a month to finally plunder all the qi of the 3,000 or so corpses during their lifetime. In the end, he gained 39.16 million qi luck values. Curse, 96.96%. Looking at the remaining curse of the heavens on the panel, Jiang Wuxian could no longer contain his inner excitement. Get rid of the curse, he yelled in his mind. You have consumed 26,960,000 qi luck values and have successfully dispelled all the curses of the heavens carried by the Lingnan family. Congratulations, you have broken the shackles of the heavens and your destiny has returned to normal. You have changed Yi Zhangtian's current destiny, and you will have access to everything in him. Does it now transfer Yi Zhangtian's cultivation, physique, destiny, and so on, to my honors? One prompt after another, one after another, rang out from his mind. Hear that. Jiang Wuxian was thrilled to the core of his heart, his hands clenched into fists. It was only after a long time had passed that he was able to suppress the endless surprise and agitation within him and return his mind to a state of calm. He also didn't rush to transfer Yi Zhangtian's cultivation, physique, and destiny, but instead, he looked his attention towards the Devil Dao panel. When the curse of the heavens was lifted, Yi Zhangtian's character information, and some changes occurred. Chapter 10 Taiyuan Divine King Scripture, Becoming a God. Name, Yi Zhangtian. Cultivation, 10th Order Demigod. Physique, Great Desolate Spirit Body. Numerology, Long Life, Demigods Plus. Technique, Taiyuan Divine King Scripture, Plus. Skills, Yin Qi Eating Technique, True Dragon Great Hand Seal, Plus, Heaven Shaking Fist Technique, Plus, Innate 1 Qi Great Tackle, Plus, A Sword Across the World, Plus, Weekly Life Sacrifice Technique, Plus. Item, Great 5 Elements Sword Formation, Extreme Magic Treasure Plus. Life Expectancy, 3 days. Luck, 12. 2 million. Remarks, 1. Long life frame, innate lifespan is extremely long, 10 times that of a living being of the same realm. 2. The Great Qi Eating Technique of the Netherworld, it can plunder the qi of beings stronger than itself to strengthen itself. At this very moment, on the Magic Road panel, a lot of plus signs appeared. This indicated that Yi Zhangtian's destiny, techniques, skills, treasures, and so on, could all be upgraded by consuming the value of qi. According to the definition of the Devil's Way panel, as long as I change Yi Zhangtian's destiny, I'll be able to transfer everything in him to my true self. If I raise Yi Zhangtian's cultivation to the true god realm, doesn't that mean that my original body, too, can take a step up and directly become a true god? Suddenly, a bold idea appeared in Jiang Wuxian's mind. After taking a deep breath, he glanced over to the long life frame on the Magic Path panel. In order to cultivate into a true god, one must first possess a true god-level destiny. So, the first thing to do is to enhance the destiny. Think about it. Without hesitation, Jiang Wuxian immediately focused his mind and attention and tapped the plus sign behind the long life frame. Ding! You have consumed 10 million points of qi and have successfully upgraded the Elder Life Fate into the True God Fate. Under this destiny, when one's cultivation reaches the True God realm, one will have a lifespan of 100,000 years. The familiar beep, once again, sounded. Words. Jiang Wuxian was instantly energized. His conjecture was correct. And since he had a true god-level destiny, the next natural step was to raise his cultivation to the true god realm as well. After suppressing his inner exhilaration, he glanced at the panel's qi value, which was still 2 million left, and it showed that the Taiyuan Divine King Scripture could also be upgraded. See this. Jiang Wuxian concentrated his mind and tapped the plus sign at the back. The Taiyuan Divine King Sutra, a method inherited from ancient times by the Lingnan family, was capable of cultivating to the Divine King realm. It was much more powerful than the Dharma that Jiang Wuxian himself cultivated. As he clicked on the plus sign behind the Taiyuan Divine King Scripture, the beep of the Devil's Way panel, too, rang out violently. You have consumed 1 million points of qi, and have successfully cultivated the Taiyuan Divine King Sutra True God chapter, to the introductory realm. Congratulations, you've broken the shackles of the God realm and have cultivated into a true God. Boom, boom, boom. Accompanied by the beeping sound of the demonic Dao panel, an extremely majestic force appeared out of thin air within Jiang Wuxian's body. And then, these pure and majestic spiritual energies flowed around Jiang Wuxian's body like a great river, flushing his sinews, bones, and flesh. Gradual. The blood in Jiang Wushan's body began to metamorphose towards divine blood. The original bones began to metamorphose into divine bones. The spiritual energy in his body was also transformed into a higher level of divine energy at a speed visible to the naked eye. Everything around him was undergoing an unprecedented sublimation and metamorphosis. Rumble. At the same time, a burst of loud and powerful thunderous sound also violently resounded from the vast sky dome. A terrifying heavenly might enveloped the entire Eight Wastelands city. Is this a divine calamity? Lingnan family. At this moment, Yi Kangwu, who was leisurely sipping tea in the Grand Hall, instantly rushed out of the Grand Hall after sensing that terrifying heavenly might. When his gaze landed on the void, his entire body's eyes widened. This kind of vision was a legendary divine catastrophe. The same. Not only Yi Kangwu, but Yun Susan, Yi Luyun, and Li Tianshan from the Lingnan family, as well as the entire living beings of the Eight Wasteland City, were all shocked by this sudden divine calamity. After all, the 8 desolate cities, it had been 10,000 years since a true god had been born. Which big man is this who was going to become a god? Well, it's been 10,000 years, my 8 desolate city will finally produce a true god. Looking at the direction of the divine calamity, it seems to be the Lingnan family. Could it be that someone from the Lingnan family is going to become a god? No way. The Lingnan family was cursed by the heavens to never become gods, it could never be them. But that direction is indeed the Lingnan family. The overwhelming sounds of astonishment and discussion resounded from all parts of the 8 Wasteland City. Subsequently, a large number of cultivators, with intense curiosity, had quickly flocked to the Lingnan family. Same time, Yi Kangwu and the others also realized that something was wrong. Family master, this is the true god's tribulation, someone is about to become a god. That direction seems to be the ancestral tomb of my Lingnan family? Just who, exactly, is transiting the divine tribulation? Lai Tianshan's eyes were filled with shock. But more than that, it was puzzling. Could it be that some powerful person had chosen the place of the tribulation at the ancestral tomb of the Lingnan family? At this very moment, in the hearts of all the people present, the same thought emerged. Go on, check it out. Although he didn't know what was going on, Yi Kangwu was still prepared to head to the ancestral tomb to find out. After all, the place of the divine calamity was the ancestral tomb of the Lingnan family, and if the ancestral tomb was destroyed by the divine calamity, he would not be able to explain to his ancestors. Phew! However, right after Yi Kangwu and the others arrived at the location of the ancestral tomb, one by one, they were all dumbfounded. Because, at this moment, they saw that the originally closed ancestral tomb was actually slowly opened. Immediately after, a familiar figure, wrapped in a powerful aura and majesty, walked out from the ancestral tomb. His body, entwined with a thick divine might. Old ancestor? Looking at the Jiang Wushan who walked out from the ancestral tomb, Yi Kangwu and the others immediately rounded their eyes, incredulous to the extreme. Especially, the divine might surging from Jiang Wushan's body even caused an extremely terrifying thought to rise in their hearts. Old ancestor, what are you? Yi Kangwu swallowed and trembled as he asked. This seat, having broken the curse of the heavens carried by the Lingnan family, will cultivate into a true god today. Jiang Wushan replied in a flat tone. What? Becoming a god? Upon hearing these words abruptly, both Yi Kangwu and the others, as well as the cultivators who had gathered over in the 8 desolate city, all sucked in a breath of cold air. How is this possible? Hasn't the Lingnan family suffered a curse from the heavens that they will never be allowed to become gods? Didn't you hear people say that the curse has been broken? The Lingnan family has been carrying the curse of the heavens since the 12th generation of ancestors, and now it's finally time to break the established destiny. The Lingnan family, there are actually still living old ancestors? Many shocked voices rang out from all directions. At this point, they were all deeply shocked by the news revealed by Jiang Wushan. And compared to the shock and size of the people in the outside world, Yi Kangwu and the others of the Lingnan family, each one of them cried tears of joy. The heavens have favored us, and destiny has finally broken. It's been 18,864 years, my Lingnan family is finally going to give birth to a true god. Oh, ancestors bless, God bless. Yi Kangwu's entire body fell to his knees, crying while bowing heavily. It's not just him. The 3 people beside him, Yun Susan, Li Tianshan, and Yi Luyun, were all the same. They finally waited for the day to turn over. The moment. Only in this way can they express the exhilaration and joy they feel inside. Regarding the excited reactions of Yi Kangwu and the others, as well as the shock of the surrounding crowd, Jiang Wushan ignored them. Phew! After speaking indifferently, he arrived above the sky in a flash and began to meet the thunderbolt that blasted down. The divine tribulation was both a test for living beings and at the same time a sublimation and creation of living beings. The true god's tribulation, a total of 81. Although it was the first time he had ever crossed the tribulation, Jiang Wushan did not suffer too much danger thanks to his strong psychological quality and his strong physical body. Eventually, after half a day of being baptized by the lightning of the calamity, his physical body and soul had all completed their sublimation and metamorphosis, became a powerful first-order true god. Chapter 11, The 5 Elements of the Great Escape, Yellow Spring Secret Code. Is this the power of the gods? Above the void. Feeling the powerful divine power flowing within his body, as well as the completely sublimated and metamorphosed flesh and soul, a gush of infatuation floated under Jiang Wuxian's eyes. The moment. He felt stronger than ever. Cultivation was a process of sublimating oneself and raising the level of life and power. Compared to earthly mortals, the true gods have gained a qualitative leap in their life levels, and there is a world of difference between them. Beyond that, because of being burdened with the longevity lattice, after cultivating into a true god, Yi Zhongtian's lifespan in this body also increased tenfold. It reached 100,000 years. With this result, Jiang Wuxian was incomparably satisfied. It was not in vain that he had dug up the ancestral graves of the Lingnan family and drew on so much qi from the lifetimes of his ancestral forefathers, and now he had finally broken the established destiny. From now on, the Lingnan family is free. He stood above the void and let out an uplifting sentiment. Hear that. The three of them, Yi Kangwu, who were kowtowing, immediately arrived in front of Jiang Wuxian as fast as they could. Congratulations to old ancestor for breaking his destiny and cultivating into a true god. Congratulations to old ancestor on becoming a god. Congratulations to old ancestor on becoming a god. With infinite exhilaration and excitement in their eyes, the three men bowed heavily. Looking at their tears of joy, Jiang Wuxian sighed softly. He could understand the feelings of Yi Kangwu and the others. After all, he had a similar encounter himself. All rise. Come in, all of you, this seat has something to explain. Yes. As Jiang Wuxian's voice fell, Yi Kangwu and the others immediately gathered themselves and respectfully entered the ancestral tomb. Within the ancestral tomb, Jiang Wuxian sat at the head of the chamber, his calm and indifferent eyes quietly looking at the three people in front of him. This seat breaks the curse of the heavens today and becomes a god against the heavens. From now on, the Lingnan family will no longer have to carry the destiny of not being able to become a god. In the future, all of you will also have the opportunity to cultivate into true gods. This seat has called you all here, mainly to arrange something. This seat is about to go on a long journey and will not be back for a short time. Therefore, in the absence of this seat, the Lingnan family will rely on yourselves. With the shelter of the East Extreme Ancient Kingdom, as long as you are careful with your words and don't make too much of a fuss, I believe that you won't incur extinction. What? You're leaving, old man? Hearing these words violently, Yi Kangwu and the others immediately revealed a look of panic. The Lingnan family had managed to change their destiny against the heavens and give birth to a true god, and they hadn't even had time to celebrate, but Jiang Wuxian was about to leave? Not to mention, they were still counting on Jiang Wuxian, a true god ancestor, to lead them in revitalizing the Lingnan family. And now, all this wishing, it's going to be in vain? In the face of the sudden news, Yi Kangwu and the others were both shocked and felt terrified and uneasy. Their expressions and reactions were all seen by Jiang Wuxian. But he didn't say much. He was just a short-lived passerby, and if they wanted to truly support the Lingnan family, they still had to rely on themselves. After briefly explaining a few things, Jiang Wuxian left behind a few more jade talismans that sealed the power of a true god, and left the Lingnan family. Next, he was going to go to world robber Junbu Jie to complete the previous deal, and then he was going to transfer everything that was on Yi Zhangtian to the honored one, the old city of sunset. Hilarious as always. After cultivating into a true god, Jiang Wuxian's speed had been tremendously increased, and it only took him an hour to arrive here. A few moments later, he found Jun Buki's stall in the same place he had been. A month had gone by, and that apparently plain-looking magic jar was still placed in the corner of the stall. Beyond that, on the stalls, there were some more rare and strange things, mainly divine spells mostly. Jiang Wuxian swept a glance and realized that many of the spells were relatively practical, ranging from the true god level to the god king level. After some screening, he had his eye on a 5 elements great escape and a yellow spring secret code. The 5 elements great transportation is a powerful transportation technique. It could rely on the power of the 5 elements, or with the help of items related to the 5 elements, to have the effect of concealing and moving one's body, being able to save your life at critical moments. As for that yellow spring secret code, it was related to corpse collecting, which recorded the process and taboos of corpse collecting, as well as many magical secret methods and magical abilities. As long as the strength is strong enough, it can even have the miraculous effect of reversing the fate of the heavens. The reason why he was looking at the Yellow Spring Secret Codex was because Jiang Wuxian felt that he would have to deal with the dead less often in the future. If one had the status of a corpse collector, it would be a bit easier to obtain corpses in the future, or to draw on the qi of the deceased during their lifetime. Ha! I haven't seen you for a month and a half. You actually cultivated into a true god? Just as Jiang Wuxian was surveying the various treasures on the stall, suddenly, an extremely surprised voice came to his ears. Look up, only to see that Junbu Xia was quietly scrutinizing himself with an astonished gaze. Eyes, somewhat incredulous. Obviously, he hadn't even expected that Jiang Wuxian would actually be able to go against the heavens and break the shackles of a demigod, cultivating into a true god in one fell swoop. Ha, just lucky. In the face of Junbu Xia's astonished look, Jiang Wuxian did not explain too much. He came before the stall and grabbed the devil's jar, the 5 elements great escape, and the Yellow Springs mysteries, into his hands. Fellow Taoist, these few things, how are they sold? You have a good eye. Magic jar, same price as before, 20,000 years of life, 5 elements of the great escape, 500 years of life. The secret code of the Yellow Springs, 1,000 years of life. A total of 21,500 lifespans. Jun Buxie's flat voice rang out from within his mind. Speaking. Under Jiang Wuxian's gaze, he handed a mysterious black scroll, in front of him. A life contract? Looking at the scroll that was handed over and the ancient words recorded on it, a faint trace of surprise swept across the bottom of Jiang Wuxian's eyes. Jun Buxie was indeed mysterious and unpredictable, and actually even had such magical things. As long as they sign a life contract, they can transfer their lifespans to each other. This was the first time Jiang Wuxian had seen this kind of item. What's it going to take to sign? Use your soul as a guide, your essence and blood as a base, and just write your name. Yes. Following Jun Wuxie's guidance, Jiang Wuxian quickly signed the life contract. Shasta. The lifespan on his panel was directly reduced by 21,500 years, looking at Jiang Wuxian in amazement. This kind of tactic is really unimaginable. However, once he thought of Jun Buxie's identity as a world bandit, he was relieved. The other party was able to shuttle and walk through various worlds, and their divine abilities and means were definitely all through the heavens and through the earth. Even an extreme innate treasure like the devil's jar was available. A mere life contract didn't seem like a big deal. There. From now on, they are your excellency's belongings. Let's meet again sometime. After handing over the magic jar and 3 other items to Jiang Wuxian, Jun Buxie began to pack up the items on the stall. Fellow Taoist is leaving the desolate ancient world? Aha! I have important business in other worlds, and if I hadn't had a 3-month engagement with you, I would have left half a month ago. Now that the deal between you and I has been completed, it is time for me to leave this world. Of course, in the future, I will promptly send you information on various commodities through the summoning stone. If you need it, just contact me and I can deliver it for you. Jun Buxie responded indifferently. Say it. He rolled up the numerous items on the stall with his large hand and disappeared in a flash. What a weirdo. However, there are indeed quite a few good things in Jun Buxie's hands, so I don't know when we'll meet next if we meet again. Jiang Wuxian secretly sighed. After Jun Buxie left, he did not continue to stay in the same place for much longer and went straight to the Sunset Ancient City's Lingyun Pavilion. Inside the Lingyun Pavilion, Jiang Wuxian sat cross-legged in his room, and after discarding all of his distracting thoughts, he began to transfer everything on Yi Zhangtian. Chapter 12, Skyrocketing 10,000 Years of Cultivation, Great 5 Elements Sword Formation. You transferred Yi Zhangtian's true god cultivation, and as a result, your true self took a step forward and cultivated into a first-order true god. You have transferred Yi Zhangtian's great desolate divine body, and you are twice as powerful when you perform all sorts of divine spells. You've transferred Yi Zhangtian's long-life personality, and your lifespan limit has increased to 100,000 years. You transferred Yi Zhangtian's divine blood. You transferred Yi Zhangtian's divine bone. Accompanied by a cold beeping sound, at this moment, everything that had been said about Yi Zhangtian's body was all transferred to Jiang Wuxian's original body, including his 10,000 years of true god cultivation, great desolate god body, elder lifespan, devil's jar, and great 5 elements sword formation. In the meantime, with the transfer of power and resources, Jiang Wuxian's consciousness also detached from Yi Zhangtian's body and returned to his original body. Nowadays, he was still buried alive inside the Luo family's ancestral tomb. Only, unlike the previous tragic experience of being on the verge of death, as Yi Zhangtian's cultivation and power continued to be transferred over, under the impetus of the majestic life force, Jiang Wuxian's injuries were rapidly recovering at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. And his cultivation also began to skyrocket wildly. One big realm, one after another, was broken through. 3 days later, when everything in Yi Zhangtian's body was transferred to Jiang Wuxian, his own cultivation level, from the original mortal stage, became a true god in one step. One's own physique metamorphosed into the great desolate god body, the bones around one's body turned into divine bones, and the blood turned into divine blood. An unprecedentedly powerful feeling swept through his body. The other side. When Yi Zhangtian's power and resources were transferred to Jiang Wuxian's original body, the body that existed in the desolate ancient great world also suddenly went up in smoke. The first takeover, successfully completed. Fortunately, the heavens still favored me, allowing me to seize the body of a 10,000-year-old ancestor and did not get off to a smooth start, cultivating into a true god in one fell swoop. The next step is to seek revenge on Luo Qingcheng. The moment he thought of the Luo family, and Luo Qingcheng who had dug up his divine bones, intense hatred erupted from the bottom of Jiang Wuxian's eyes. In the past, he didn't have a strong power and could only be mercilessly suppressed and buried alive. Now that he had cultivated into a true god, he didn't have to worry about that much anymore. Archive. Everything Luo Qingcheng and the Luo family had inflicted on him, he would pay back 1,000 times over. Think about it. Jiang Wuxian suppressed the hatred within him and turned his gaze to the coffins that were placed in the surrounding chambers. This was the ancestral tomb of the Luo family, and in these coffins, the ancestors of the Luo family were buried. The netherworld qi eating technique can only draw on the qi of beings more powerful than me, and all of these ancestral forefathers of the Luo family were demigods. It's no longer of any use to me, and yet, they can't just let them off the hook. Jiang Wuxian coldly whispered. Speaking. His large hand spread out, accompanied by gusts of bizarre black light, an ancient mysterious tile jar, instantly manifested above his palm. After being transferred over from Yi Zhangtian, under the greatness of the Devil Dao panel, the Devil Jar had been completely sacrificed, turning it into his original magic treasure. Beyond that, there was also a set of Great Five Elements sword formation. Edict. After carefully surveying the area for a few moments, Jiang Wuxian immediately pinched the spell, and in an instant, a huge suction force surged out, sucking all the coffins in the chamber, all of them, in. In just a flash, the corpses of those ancestral forefathers of the Luo family were melted by the demonic jar. A strand of pure essence was extracted from the demonic jar and merged into Jiang Wuxian's body. It caused his cultivation and power to increase slightly by a hair. The difference between the demigods compared to the true gods is too great, both in terms of the level of life and the level of power. Moreover, the Luo family's ancestors have endured for so many years, and the essence in their bodies has long been lost. Rather, it was the burial objects in their coffins that drew some faint power. This magic jar, worthy of being an innate treasure, is indeed very magical. With its help, my future cultivation speed will be quite a bit faster. Feeling the magic of the magic jar, Jiang Wuxian couldn't help but praise it. This time, he's really picking up the slack. Although it took 20,000 years of life, it was nothing compared to the value of the magic jar. This supreme treasure, fortunately the rank and grade is only at the true god level. If it was a god king's magic treasure, Jun Buxia definitely wouldn't have taken it out and sold it. And with the Devil's Way panel, as long as there is a sufficiently large amount of chi value, it can be added to and upgraded to become a heavenly god dharma treasure or a god king dharma treasure. Think of it this way, but I'm making a fortune. In addition, the magic jar has the ability to strengthen items 100-fold. Speaking of which, Jiang Wuxian instantly thought of that Great Five Elements sword formation. Sound of a crash. Only to see him flip his hand, 5 anciently shaped divine swords suddenly appeared above his palm, emitting a stern and ferocious sword aura. This set of Great Five Elements sword formation was an extremely high-grade magic treasure that Yi Zhangtian had gone through a lot of painstaking efforts to collect the 5 types of Xianjin, drawing on the power of the 5 elements of heaven and earth, and sacrificing them to become a treasure. Possesses an extremely powerful attack. However, it was a pity that although it had strong attacks, it was only a demigod-level magic treasure. Nowadays, Jiang Wuxian had already cultivated into a true god, and the magic treasures at the demigod stage could no longer keep up with his pace and strength. So, it has to be re-upgraded. After slightly surveying the area for a moment, Jiang Wuxian waved his big hand and directly threw the Great Five Elements sword formation into the magic jar. Rumbling. As the Great Five Elements sword formation entered the Devil's Jar, it was instantly enveloped by a brilliant black divine light. At this moment, as the ruler of the demon jar, Jiang Wuxian could clearly feel that the Great Five Elements sword formation was getting stronger at a speed visible to the naked eye. Phew! Half a day later, when Jiang Wuxian took the Great Five Elements sword formation out of the inside of the magic jar, it had already been strengthened 100 times, with a qualitative increase in quality and power. Name: Great Five Elements sword formation. Grade: Extreme Demigod Magic Treasure. Introduction: a powerful sword formation made from 5 elements of metaphysical gold as the main ingredient. After activating it, it can stimulate the Great Five Elements sword chi, killing all living beings below the first order true gods. New information that presented itself. Read it. Lin Wudao was both surprised and a little disappointed. Surprised that the legendary extreme Dharma treasure really existed, disappointed that after 100 times strengthening, the magic jar did not metamorphose into a true god-level Dharma treasure. It seems that it's still necessary to add some points with chi to make it work. He sighed. Right now, there were still 1.2 million chi values left on the Devil's Path panel, and the back of the Great Five Elements sword formation also showed that it could be upgraded. Seeing the situation, Jiang Wuxian focused his mind and tapped the following plus sign after it. In a blink of an eye, the account was reduced by 1 million points of chi. Same time, under the greatness of the Devil's Way panel, the Great Five Elements sword formation was also successfully upgraded to become a lower-grade true god magic treasure. After activating it, it could inspire the Great Five Elements sword chi to exterminate living beings below the third-order true gods. Jiang Wuxian was still satisfied with this result. Invincible below third-order true god. With this Great Five Elements sword formation, I don't have to be afraid of even those true gods of the Shangqing sect. According to his understanding, although the Shangqing sect had several true gods in attendance, the most powerful one was only a third-order true god. With this Great Five Elements sword formation, one's power would not be lost to them. If he added the secret method of burning his lifespan as a way to increase his battle power, he would be able to kill even a third-order true god. So, he had full confidence in exterminating Luo Qingcheng. Even if the Shangqing sect takes refuge, it can't save her. Think about it. Jiang Wuxian suppressed the hatred and murderous intent within his heart and erased all traces in the tomb chamber, and then he performed the 5 elements great escape and left the Luo family's ancestral tomb. Ha! As he stepped out of the Luo family's ancestral tomb, a subtle shock of disbelief instantly passed out of his mouth. One moment. Jiang Wuxian's gaze looked to a place not far away, only to see that there were a large number of figures that were setting up the ancestor sacrifice ceremony at this very moment. The Luo family is preparing for an ancestor sacrifice? According to the tradition since ancient times, the Luo family has been sacrificing their ancestors once every 10 years, and it's only been 7 years since the last ancestor sacrifice. Could it be that the Luo family has had some big or happy event recently? Looking at the Luo family members who were setting up the sacrificial grounds in the distance, a trace of astonishment swept across the bottom of Jiang Wuxian's eyes, directly telling him that this time, the Luo family's early ancestor sacrifice might have something to do with Luo Qingcheng. Right now, it's still in the process of setting up the sacrifice site, and there should still be a few days before the actual sacrifice. The Luo family ancestor sacrifice is very strict, and when the time comes, all the clansmen will return. In that case, I'll wait a few more days. Wait until all of them have returned in full force and then kill them all in one fell swoop. Strike that. Jiang Wuxian took out a mask from his storage pouch and put it on his face, then he left the Green Dragon Ridge quietly and unnoticed. Not much longer. He then went back to the Panglong Villa. Chapter 13, The 3 Qianglai Dukes, Heaven and Earth Past Life Mantra. Panlong Villa. Located under the Zilong Mountain in the southeastern part of Qingtian City, it covered an extremely vast area. With a heart full of expectations and trepidation, Jiang Wuxian returned. However, when he saw the sight in front of him, his body was trembling fiercely, and his palms couldn't help but squeeze. Look up, only to see that the originally grand and atmospheric Panlong Villa had now been reduced to a scorched earth and ruins. Despite knowing that Luo Qingcheng and the Shangqing sect would not let the Jiang family go, Jiang Wuxian was still unable to accept the result when he saw it in front of him. The Jiang family, was it exterminated? Looking at the ruins in front of him, he clenched his fists in death, his body trembling unceasingly. Nowadays, the Jiang clan, which had been passed down for thousands of years, was left with only one member of his clan. And all of this was thanks to Luo Qingcheng and the Shangqing sect. The more he thought about it, the hatred in Jiang Wuxian's heart, the more intense it became. The ferocious light in the bottom of his eyes was even more like a tidal wave surging unceasingly. Phew! It was also in the midst of his grief and pain that suddenly, a sharp air-breaking sound came from the distant sky. Fix your eyes. He only saw a brocade-clothed man with a long and handsome body, driving a spirit boat, arrive in front of him. In his hand, he also carried a basket containing incense, candles, paper money, and other various items of worship. Chen Jinghuan? Looking at the visitor, Jiang Wuxian suppressed the hatred in his heart, and a faint trace of surprise swept across the bottom of his eyes. The brocade-clothed man in front of him was the third son of the Qianlai family of Qingtian City, Chen Jinghuan. 3 years ago, the last time Jiang Wuxian saw him, Chen Jinghuan was still at the 7th stage of the Zuni realm. Nowadays, he had cultivated into a 10th ranked exalted, with 1 foot in the realm of the demigods. Jiang Wuxian was surprised by his arrival. After all, there wasn't much of a crossover between him and Chen Jinghuan. Did you come to pay tribute to the Jiang family as well? Just as Jiang Wuxian was astonished, Chen Jinghuan took the lead in breaking the silent atmosphere and inquired curiously. Words. Jiang Wuxian glanced at him and nodded indifferently. Oh, that's a real coincidence, me too. Since we're all here to honor the dead souls of the Jiang family, we might as well join together. Alas, the Jiang family is also a prestigious family in the Green Sky City, and it even produced amazingly talented heavenly pride true dragons like Jiang Wuxian. It's just a pity that God's will is against us. The Jiang family has suffered a huge change, and all of them have been exterminated overnight. It is really a pity. Looking at the ruins in front of him, Chen Jinghuan couldn't help but sigh as well. Say it. He then carried the basket and took a step towards the depths of the ruins. See this. Jiang Wuxian didn't say anything, but just quietly followed behind him while surveying the familiar yet unfamiliar Panglong Villa around him. A few moments later, upon arriving deeper into the ruins, a neatly organized graveyard was the only thing that came into view. These cemeteries, where the Kong family members are buried. Watching this scene, the sadness and pain in Jiang Wuxian's heart grew a few points thicker. Did you build these graves? After a long silence, he turned to Chen Jinghuan next to him and asked in a faint voice. Hear that? Chen Jinghuan glanced at him, then nodded. Yes, I built it. In the past, the head of the Jiang family saved my life, and even though I was too weak to save the Jiang family from danger, I couldn't let them expose their bodies to the wilderness. So, I got someone to build a cemetery on the original site of Panlong Villa to bury them. This is a little bit of what I've done for the Jiang family. It's just a pity that my ability is limited, and I haven't found a suitable corpse collector so far to overtake the dead souls of the Jiang family, so that their spirits in heaven can rest in peace. Speaking of which, Chen Jinghuan sighed helplessly. And then, under Jiang Wuxian's gaze, he took out incense, candles, paper money, and other items from inside the basket and began to offer sacrifices to the dead souls of the Jiang family. And also handed some to Jiang Wuxian. Thanks for collecting the bodies of the Jiang family. Looking at Chen Jinghuan, who was moving skillfully in front of him, Jiang Wuxian said gratefully in an incomparably sincere tone. The words fell. He also bowed deeply to Chen Jinghuan. Fellow Daoist doesn't have to. And I did what I had to do. For now, I only hope that one day, the many departed souls of the Jiang family can be transcended. Not to be a lone soul in the world. Chen Jinghuan said casually as he burned the paper money. See this. Jiang Wuxian also came before the grave, lit incense and candles, and then knelt down and bowed in a gesture of incomparable respect. It wasn't until after the third bow that he slowly rose. Mr. Chen, if you're repairing the graves and erecting monuments for the clansmen of the Jiang clan, aren't you afraid of retaliation from the Luo clan? Afraid of what? Doesn't the Luo family produce a Luo Qingcheng and has a true god from the Shangqing sect as their teacher? My Qin family doesn't fear her. Although my Qin family doesn't have any living true gods sitting around, my ancestors have produced gods and possess divine weapons. Even if the Luo family is upset, they wouldn't dare do anything to me. Chen Jinghuan replied with a cold snort. Regarding his words, Jiang Wuxian agreed. The Chen family, inherited for thousands of years, had accumulated an incomparably strong heritage, and was a few points more powerful than the Luo family. Especially, the Chen family's ancestors had produced true gods, and although they had fallen 1,000 years ago, there were divine weapons and divine laws left behind. As a party of gods, the Chen family did have the courage to defy the threat of the Luo family. By the way, this fellow Daoist, do you know any body collectors? Or do you know where there are powerful corpse collectors? If you recognize it, please help introduce it, I am grateful. Just as Jiang Wuxian fell silent, suddenly, Chen Jinghuan's voice snapped out. Words! He shook his head flatly. I don't know any corpse collectors of orthodox origin, however, if one wants to overtake the dead souls of the Jiang family, I will be able to help. Say it. Under Chen Jinghuan's astonished gaze, Jiang Wuxian first took a deep breath, then flipped open the Yellow Spring Secret Codex. He remembered that within this secret codex, there was a magical and powerful transcendence spell recorded. Name, Heaven and Earth Past Life Mantra. Chanting this mantra will transcend all the dead souls in the world, wash away their sins in life, and enter the Yellow Springs for reincarnation. Especially, the Heaven and Earth Past Life Mantra can also change the destiny of a dead person during their lifetime, raising their destiny by one level. If the deceased was a demigod in life, then after being transcended through the Heaven and Earth Past Life Mantra, his destiny in the afterlife will become a true god. Anum. Sound of a crash. As Jiang Wuxian chanted, only a burst of arcane golden light suddenly bloomed in the sky above the cemetery. At the same time, there was a mysterious gathering of clear qi all around. A moment later, under Chen Jinghuan's shocked gaze, a green and a white two majestic and grand portals suddenly appeared in midair. The gate of God's way. The gate of humanity. Looking at the manifested portal, Chen Jinghuan's eyes instantly widened, his handsome face filled with disbelief. He didn't think that Jiang Wuxian could actually overtake the dead souls. Fellow Daoist, are you a corpse collector? Chen Jinghuan pursued with surprise. To this, Jiang Wuxian didn't answer him, but only chanted the Heaven and Earth Past Life Mantra with full concentration, continuing to overtake the dead souls of the Jiang family. Shoo, shoo, shoo. As time passed, an illusory silhouette began to float out from inside the grave under the superlative of the Heaven and Earth Past Life Mantra. These, all of them, are the dead souls of the Jiang family members. At a glance, there are more than 800 people. At the head of the group was a majestic middle-aged man in Xian clothes. This man, it was clearly Jiang Qingyun, the Jiang family's family head and also Jiang Wuxian's father. Thank you, sir, for superseding my Jiang clan, and I can't thank you enough for the extradition. Please also inform me of my surname and name, and in the next life, the entire Jiang family will surely knit the grass and wring the ring to repay you for your great kindness. Jiang Qingyun respectfully saluted. In the face of his sincere inquiry, Jiang Wuxian did not speak, only slightly moving his lips. A secret message was sent into Jiang Qingyun's in spirit. Chapter 14, Changing the Fate of the Dead. Ha! Your. Upon hearing the secret message transmitted by Jiang Wuxian, Jiang Qingyun was first overwhelmed with shock, but immediately afterward, he revealed a look of excitement. God's favor, God's favor. Speaking. Under Chen Jinghuan's uncertain gaze, Jiang Qingyun immediately fell to his knees in the void and bowed to the heavens. It wasn't until a few moments had passed that he slowly got up and refocused his gaze on Jiang Wuxian's body. Take care of yourself for the rest of your life. If possible, the Lo family. Speaking here, Jiang Qingyun's complexion became incomparably complicated, his eyes were both filled with anger and hatred, but also had infinite sadness and sighs. Subsequently, he glanced at Jiang Wuxian with incomparable fondness and took the dead souls of all the Jiang family members with him as he stepped through the gate of the past life. Among them, Jiang Qingyun and a bunch of other demigods of the Jiang clan entered the gate of divine Tao, while the clansmen below the demigods were born in the gate of humanity. Hiss! Watching this scene, Chen Jinghuan immediately rounded his eyes, his expression shocked to the extreme. How is this possible? He actually changed the destiny of everyone in the Jiang family? And, without receiving the wrath of heaven? Chen Jinghuan's heart set off monstrous waves. The moment what Jiang Wuxian had done had completely overturned his perception. Transcending the dead souls can only guide them to enter the door to the next life within their destiny, and changing the destiny of the dead souls without authorization is to act against the heaven, and will be subject to the wrath of the heavens. Original. Jiang Qingyun and the other group of demigods were only demigods by destiny and hadn't reached the level of a god. Therefore, under normal circumstances, after their transcendence, they can only have a mortal destiny and be born into a mortal home. After reincarnation, they are bound to be mortal in the future. However, nowadays, under Jiang Wuxian's operation, Jiang Qingyun and the others actually possess the destiny of a true god. In this way, they would be able to cultivate into true gods in the afterlife. Such a heaven-defying operation had stunned Chen Jinghuan, who hadn't imagined that what was in front of him was a supreme master. Think about it. Chen Jinghuan's eyes became instantly respectful and awe-inspiring as he looked at Jiang Wuxian. And for his reaction, Jiang Wuxian didn't pay any attention. Other people who change the destiny of a dead person without authorization naturally suffer the wrath of heaven. But he won't. Because he possessed the devil's way panel, and the heavenly Tao did not add to his body, karma did not add to his body, and sins did not add to his body, even the heavens could not judge him. In the meantime, after transcending Jiang Qingyun and the others, something that surprised Jiang Wuxian happened. A stream of pure heaven and earth spiritual energy began to converge from all directions, surging into his body. A few moments later, his cultivation level, on top of the original, had slightly increased by 1 point. Watch this scene. Jiang Wuxian seemed to have thought of something, and a strange light swept across the bottom of his eyes. The rules of heaven and earth in the Yuan realm seemed to be rather special. There was a rumor before that as long as the deceased is transcended, as a transcended corpse collector, one can obtain 30% of the deceased's cultivation during his or her lifetime. Their children, grandchildren, and offspring can gain 70% of their cultivation. Now it seems that the rumors in the Yuan realm are all true. This time, I have transcended the clansmen of the Panlong Villa, and this increased power all stems from their cultivation in life. Jiang Wuxian was enlightened. His eyes instantly lit up at the thought. Because being a corpse collector who overtakes the dead also seems to be a very promising career. For one's own cultivation, it can likewise be of great help. As long as I keep overtaking the dead souls, I can keep plundering their cultivation from their lives. The more powerful the person I overtake, the more cultivation I acquire. It's like a road to prosperity. Jiang Wuxian's eyes grew brighter and brighter. The moment he felt that the Yellow Springs mysteries, which he had spent 1,000 years of his lifespan to buy from Jun Wuxia, was of immeasurable value, opening another path for him to become stronger. Jiang Wuxian was very satisfied with this new discovery. Qianglai family Chen Jinghuan, meet you sir. I have no eyes to recognize the true face of Mr. I beg your pardon if I have offended you. At this point, after confirming that Jiang Wuxian was a powerful corpse collector, Chen Jinghuan also changed his previous stance and revealed a respectful expression. For him, Jiang Wuxian was still more appreciative. I am a deceased member of the Panlong Villa, and I am very grateful to you for helping the people of the Jiang clan to collect their corpses and not exposing them to the wilderness. This seat has always made a clear distinction between grudges when doing things. Since you helped collect the bodies of the Jiang clan's people, this seat will grant you a heavenly chance in creation. In addition, this seat observes that you have a fury between your eyebrows, and that bad luck is stalking you, so I think there must be a change in your family. Your Qianglai clan, there should have been a close family member who passed away recently, right? Jiang Wuxian said indifferently. Hearing this, Chen Jinghuan nodded vigorously. Mr. Wise Guy. Some time ago, the old ancestor of my Qianglai family went out to search for the chance to suddenly become a god, and unfortunately had an accident that led to his death. Right now, my Qianglai family is looking for a strong corpse collector to collect the corpse of my family's old ancestor and overthrow him. Sir, you are so powerful. Can I ask you to go on a trip to the Qianglai family to help my old ancestor reincarnate? Chen Jinghuan sincerely invited. His eyes, full of expectation. Also, there was also a dash of exhilaration and excitement. As long as he asked someone to transcend the Qianglai family's old ancestor, at that time, he would be able to obtain 70% of his cultivation during his lifetime. Cultivating into an 8th-order demigod in one fell swoop. This is definitely a heavenly creation for him. Jiang Wuxian could naturally guess some of Chen Jinghuan's thoughts, but he did not ask. Yes, it just so happens that this seat has nothing to do these days, so there's no harm in making a trip to the Qianglai family. Thank you, sir. Hearing Jiang Wuxian's promise, Chen Jinghuan was instantly surprised and worshipped. By the way, when this seat came over just now, I passed by the Green Dragon Ridge and found that the Luo family was setting up the sacrificial grounds. As far as this seed knows, there are still 3 years until the Luo family's ancestor sacrifice. This time they have advanced their ancestor sacrifice. Could it be that something happy has happened? At this point, Jiang Wuxian, who suddenly thought of the Luo family's ancestor sacrifice, asked curiously at Chen Jinghuan. Yes sir. According to the Luo family's tradition, there are indeed 3 more years until the official ancestor sacrifice. The reason why it was advanced this time was because of Luo Qingcheng. According to the news circulating out of the Shangqing sect, Luo Qingcheng didn't know what kind of heaven-defying chance in creation she had obtained, and actually took a step forward and cultivated into a 10th-ranked demigod within 2 months. And, it is rumored to have the qualifications of a divine king. Right now, Luo Qingcheng has already become the first true disciple of the Shangqing sect, and her future is limitless. Due to Luo Qingcheng's world-covering talent, along with the Luo family, the chickens have also come home to roost and suffered great honor. Therefore, the Luo family is prepared to offer sacrifices to the ancestors in advance, enjoining the heavenly spirits of the ancestors' forefathers. Chen Jinghuan hummed and replied. Between the words, there wasn't any good feelings towards Luo Qingcheng and the Luo family. Luo Qingcheng has already cultivated into a 10th-order demigod? Hearing Chen Jinghuan's words, Jiang Wuxian narrowed his eyes slightly. Luo Qingcheng's cultivation speed was much faster than what he expected. However, once he thought of Luo Qingcheng possessing her own supreme god king bone, he was relieved. Luo Qingcheng's own qualifications were not weak, and now that she had been blessed with the supreme divine king bone, her qualifications and potential were naturally skyrocketing in a single step. So, it wasn't impossible to cultivate into a 10th-order demigod. Sir, now that the Luo family is powerful and Luo Qingcheng is backed by the Shangqing sect, it's not easy to deal with. If you want to avenge Pan Long Villa, you still have to make all preparations before you can do so, Chen Jinghuan whispered. He also seemed to see the hatred that Jiang Wuxian had for the Luo family. Well, thanks for the reminder, this seat has its own ideas. Go and transcend your family's old ancestor. In addition, this seat will grant you another chance to repay you for collecting the corpse for the Jiang family. Jiang Wuxian did not take Chen Jinghuan's persuasion to heart. After faintly responding, he boarded Chen Jinghuan's spirit boat and the two of them quickly sailed towards the Qianglai family. Chapter 15, Dig a Grave or Die. Qianglai family. Located on the shores of Mirror Moon Lake, directly east of Qingtian City, with an inheritance of more than 8,800 years, it is the premier great family within a radius of 10,000 miles. Phew! A few moments later, under the leadership of Chen Jinghuan, Jiang Wuxian rode the spirit boat and arrived at the Qianglai family. Gongzi, you're finally back. As Chen Jinghuan stepped out of the spirit boat, he only saw a hale and hearty old man in green clothes come before him in a hurry, his face covered with fear and anxiety. This man was Chen Jinghuan's old servant, Ding Yuanshan. Although Chen Jinghuan was honored as the third son of the Qianglai family, he was not a direct descendant of the current head of the family, but originated from a side branch of the Chen family. Due to the death of his parents at a young age, Chen Jinghuan was basically raised by old servants. So, Ding Yuanshan is his closest relative. Uncle Ding, what happened? Seeing this panicked appearance of Ding Yuanshan, Chen Jinghuan could not help but ask curiously. Your Excellency, the matter of you collecting corpses for the Jiang family has already been known to the family head and the others. Right now, the head of the family is furious. Hearing this, Chen Jinghuan frowned slightly. I collected corpses and set up graves for the Jiang family, that's no big deal, right? Why is the family head shaking with anger? Is it hard to be the Luo family? Suddenly, he seemed to think of something and asked in a deep voice. Yes, my lord. Right now, the Luo family is powerful, and the Luo family's petite daughter, Luo Qingcheng, has even cultivated into a 10th-order demigod in a single step, and has the qualifications of a divine king. It's rumored that the Shangqing sect is going to send a true god powerhouse to sit in on the Luo family. Nowadays, all the people within Qingtian City know that the Luo family annihilated the Pan Long Villa and seized everything they had. Your Excellency, you collected corpses for the Jiang clan's people and often went to pay tribute to them, isn't this openly opposing the Luo clan? Although our Qianglai family has also produced true gods, but that was 1,000 years ago after all, even with the divine weapons left behind by our ancestors, we can't resist a true god. Ding Yuanshan sighed helplessly. As soon as his words came out, Chen Jinghuan's face grew more and more somber by one point, and his palms were secretly squeezed. So what's the situation now? The thing is that I did it, the big deal is that I will be expelled from the Qianglai family. Anyway, this family that doesn't have a single bit of human feelings, I long ago didn't want to stay. He grunted coldly. My lord, it's not that simple. The family master's lineage has long been looking at us in a bad light, and now that they've caught a chance, they definitely won't let it go so easily. I heard that the family wants you to dig up the Jiang family's grave as a way to calm the Luo family's anger. Ding Yuanshan whispered. Digging up the Kong family's grave? Hearing these words, Jiang Wuxian, who originally didn't intend to get involved, his eyes instantly went cold. The same. Chen Jinghuan's eyes also erupted with a strong color of indignation. Simply deceptive. People are already dead, do they even spare the dead? Say it. Chen Jinghuan immediately entered the Qianglai family in a rage. Not long after, he arrived at the family hall. At this point, in the solemn and grand hall, many figures of the clan had already gathered. These people, all of them were respected clan elders of the Qianglai family, and each of them was a demigod powerhouse. Especially in the first place of the Great Hall, there was also a middle-aged man in Xian clothes with a majestic appearance sitting at the top. It was clearly the current head of the Qianlai family, Chen Tingshan. Sound of a crash. As Chen Jinghuan arrived at the main hall, in an instant, the gazes of everyone present instantly gathered on him. Chen Jinghuan, do you know your offense? Before the crowd could speak, abruptly, a cold questioning voice rang out in the Great Hall. Fix your eyes. It was only that the speaker, a brocade-clothed youth with a long body and a cold face, stood behind Chen Tingshan and shouted sternly at Chen Jing. Eyes, full of schadenfreude. What is my crime? Chen Jinghuan asked knowingly. Why did you go to collect the bodies and set up the graves of the Zheng family's people? Don't you know that doing so will bring disaster to my Qianlai family, for me? It's fine if you seek your own death, but don't drag the whole clan to be buried with you. Just because of your foolish actions, causing my Qianlai family to suffer humiliation, the Luo family has already come to my door. They have a true god in attendance now. Are they something you can fight against? Now, you only have two ways, either to die to thank for your sins, or to immediately go dig up the grave of the Zheng family and apologize to the Luo family. The brocade-clad man chattered angrily. For this person, Jiang Wuxian was also very familiar with him. He was the eldest son of the Qianlai family, Chen Zifeng. At the same time, it was also the firstborn eldest son of Chen Tingshan, the future successor of the Qianlai family. Chen Zifeng, do you still have some conscience? Back then, when the Pan-Dragon Villa befriended the Qianlai family, the Zheng family treated you well. Moreover, you're also the righteous son of the Zheng family head. Now that the Zheng family is in trouble, it's even worse if you don't go to collect their corpses, you even want to dig their graves. Are you still human? Chen Jinghuan, who was furious, pointed at Chen Zifeng's nose and cursed. However, in the face of his accusations, Chen Zifeng was a cold laugh. This is the time. The Zheng family has done me a small favor, but so what? Am I going to die with them? As long as I can safeguard the interests of my Qianlai family, not to mention digging up graves, I won't frown even if I have to thwart the bones of the Zheng family. The Luo family has given an ultimatum. If you don't go and dig up the Zheng family's grave before sunset today, at that time, you and Ding Yuanshan will all die. Either go dig a grave to give thanks or die, your choice. An ice-cold voice resounded throughout the hall. Hear that? Chen Jinghuan clenched his fists dead tightly and his body was trembling slightly as he turned his gaze toward Chen Tingshan, who was seated at the top. However, in the face of his expectant eyes, Chen Tingshan was sitting steadily, sipping tea to himself. Chen Jinghuan, go do it. If you don't do it, we'll just have to hand over your corpse and dig up the Zheng family's grave. Think carefully, Ding Yuanshan raised you from a young age, do you want him to die with you? After a few moments of silence, Chen Tingshan's flat voice rang out. Hiss. As soon as his words came out, Chen Jinghuan's body trembled more and more, his heart filled with boundless indignation and helplessness. Sir, I'm sorry. Taking a few hard, deep breaths, Chen Jinghuan bowed to Jiang Wuxian with apologies. Say it. It was then that he had to drag his heavy body and turn away. What? Are you going to go dig up the Kong family's grave? Just as he turned around, Jiang Wuxian's indifferent voice sounded softly. To this, Chen Jinghuan bitterly shook his head. Sir, it's not that I want to do this, it's just that I have no choice. Yes? This seat thinks that you actually have a lot of options besides compromise. The reason why the Qianlai clan is afraid of the Luo clan's retaliation is because the Luo clan has a true god from the Shangqing sect sitting in their midst. If the Qianlai clan also has a true god, wouldn't there be no need to be afraid? Besides, if you kill the people who threaten you, all of them, won't you have to look at other people's faces anymore? Jiang Wuxian said in a flat tone. Ha! Upon hearing these words, Chen Jinghuan immediately opened his eyes wide and stared at Jiang Wuxian with an unbelievable look in a daze. In the meantime, Chen Tingshan and the others in the Great Hall also landed their gazes on Jiang Wuxian. Bold! My Qianlai family is discussing family matters, which can be the turn of an idle person like you here. Ah! Chen Zifeng, who was not willing to be provoked, violently came to the center of the hall and shouted in a stern voice. However, before he could finish his words, he was suppressed to his knees by a large hand. Chapter 16, Kill your son to calm your anger. Ah! Miserable screams resounded through the family hall. At this point, under everyone's gaze, Chen Zifeng's legs were hardened and he knelt in the center of the hall. No matter how hard he fought and resisted, it was to no avail. Zifeng! It all happened in an instant. Seeing this sudden change, whether it was Chen Tingshan sitting on the first seat, the group of clan elders present, or Chen Jinghuan, all of them stared with rounded eyes. Chen Tingshan, in particular, violently stood up from his seat, a pair of cold and stern eyes gazing tightly at Jiang Wuxian. Your Excellency is a bit too unbridled, isn't he? This is my Qianlai clan, and you're bullying my heir in public like this, you simply have no one in your sight. Chen Tingshan shouted angrily. Boom! Speaking, only to see his big hand flip, up to 3 feet high, the shape of the ancient atmosphere of the black furnace, suddenly from the hands of the emergence. A powerful burst of divine might surged open like a flood. Green heavenly furnace. Looking at the black treasure furnace that Chen Tingshan had brought out, Chen Jinghuan's pupils suddenly tightened, and an intense shock welled up under his eyes. Be careful, sir, this is a true god magic treasure that has been passed down from generation to generation in my Qianlai family, the green sky furnace. He hastily reminded Jiang Wushun. However, just as his words rang out, Chen Tingshan in the distance had already activated the green heavenly furnace, wrapping it in a vast divine might and ragingly suppressing it. Those who offend my Qianlai family, kill! A domineering and overwhelming roar that shook the 10 directions. Boom! As he catalyzed the green heavenly furnace, the powerful divine might that erupted almost collapsed the entire grand hall. Even with the surrounding space, all set off a slight ripple. This strike was enough to exterminate all demigods. Only, in the face of this ferocious and incomparable monstrous divine might of the blue sky furnace, Jiang Wushun's complexion did not change half a bit and was as cold and indifferent as ever. Green heavenly furnace, a lower grade true god magic treasure, not bad in terms of power. If a true god were to activate it would barely be able to exert a trace of pressure on me, but you're merely a demigod, and trying to unleash the power of a true god's magic treasure is a bit ridiculous. Knock! An icy cold voice rang out, only to see Jiang Wushun wave his large sleeve, and the divine might that swept over him suddenly dissipated. In the meantime, his large hand gently probed out, and under the incredulous gaze of Chen Tingshan and the others, he directly grasped the green heavenly furnace into his hands. Even with Chen Tingshan's drive, the green heavenly furnace erupted with powerful divine might, but it still couldn't shake Jiang Wushun by half. This, you are a true god? Looking at this horrifying scene, Chen Tingshan was first stunned, but then as if he had thought of something, his complexion suddenly changed drastically. The eyes that looked at Jiang Wushun were filled with panic and fear. What? True god? Hearing this, the clan elders in the great hall, as well as Chen Jinghuan and the others, all sucked in a breath of cold air. Each and every one of them all looked at Jiang Wushun with shocked eyes. See this? Jiang Wushun didn't continue to hide his strength any longer and directly released a trace of the divine might of a true god. Holy, Mr. True God? Feeling the aura of a true god that was revealed on Jiang Wushun's body, Chen Jinghuan's heart turned over in a torrential wave. More exhilaration and surprise, though. With a powerful true god backing him up, he wouldn't have to be coerced by Chen Tingshan and the others to go ahead and dig the grave of the Jiang family. And compared to his excitement, Chen Tingshan's father and son and the others were terrified to the extreme. Thud. After confirming the identity of Jiang Wushun's true god, Chen Tingshan did not hesitate and immediately fell to his knees in a posture of reverence. The late generation has eyes and does not recognize MT. Tai, please forgive senior. He bowed down in horror. A true god powerhouse was by no means something that their Qianlai family could afford to mess with. How is this possible? How could he be a true god powerhouse? How could Chen Jinghuan know a true god? The other side. After learning that Jiang Wushun was a true god, Chen Zifeng, who was kneeling on the ground, was also terrified to the extreme. Afterward, he followed Chen Tingshan and kept bowing down. Sir, have mercy. I didn't mean to. Chen Zifeng desperately wanted to argue something, but Jiang Wushun didn't give him that chance. Ungrateful dogs are not qualified to beg for this seat's forgiveness. Chen Tingshan, didn't you want to dig the Jiang family's grave as a way to preserve your Qianlai family? Now, this seat gives you a chance to save the Qianlai family. For the sake of Chen Jinghuan, as long as you kill Chen Zifeng with your own hands, this seat will forgive the sins of your Qianlai family. A flat voice slowly sounded. What? Killed Chen Zifeng? Hearing these words, Chen Tingshan was immediately startled. Seniors, I'm going to count to 3, if you don't kill Chen Zifeng then I'll kill all of you Qianlai family. 1. As he spoke, Jiang Wushun ignored the panic and fear of the crowd and gently called out a number. At this very moment, his voice fell on the ears of everyone present, as if it was a life-suppressing talisman, causing everyone except Chen Jinghuan to tremble. As for Chen Tingshan, he even clenched his fists in death. 2. Seeing that he didn't respond, Jiang Wushun continued to call out again. Sound of a crash. The moment the words fell, he was seen violently spreading his palms, and a powerful and unrivaled sword chi immediately blossomed out. That terrifying divine might presses everyone to gasp for breath. Watch this scene. Chen Zifeng, who was kneeling on the ground, was scared out of his wits. Elder, spare your life. Elder, spare your life. It's the kid who has eyes but no eyes. Beg senior to spare his life. I won't dare to do it again. Thud. Chen Zifeng begged frantically. As he spoke, he kept bowing heavily, begging to be forgiven by Jiang Wushun. To this, Jiang Wushun directly ignored it. It seems that in the eyes of the Chen family master, the Chen family's 1,000-year foundation is simply no match for a son. Since that's the case, then I'll help family master Chen destroy the Qianlai family. Boom! As the words fell, Jiang Wushun was immediately about to activate the Great Five Elements sword chi in his hand to exterminate the people present. However, just as he was about to make his move, he saw Chen Tingshan violently storming up from the ground with a loud roar, piercing Chen Zifeng's chest with a sword. Father, you actually killed me. Looking at the gurgling blood, Chen Zifeng rounded his eyes and looked at Chen Tingshan in disbelief. He hadn't expected that Chen Tingshan would really make a move to kill him. Zifeng, don't blame me. For the sake of the Qianlai clan's 1,000-year foundation, go on your way with peace of mind. Chen Tingshan trembled and said in pain. Having said that, the long sword in his hand fiercely exerted force, and the powerful sword chi surged out, directly twisting out all of Chen Zifeng's vitality. Elder, is it okay now? After personally destroying Chen Zifeng, Chen Tingshan expressionlessly put away the long sword in his hand and turned to Jiang Wushan to ask. To this, Jiang Wushan nodded in satisfaction. Worthy of being the head of a family, acting is decisive. If a son is gone, he can be born again. If the family foundation is gone, then everything is over. However, you can even kill your own son. You will definitely be a great danger to this seat in the future. Phew! The moment the voice rang out, Jiang Wushan directly inspired a great 5-element sword chi that landed on Chen Tingshan's body. Before he could react, a sword cut off his head. Not only that, Jiang Wushan also beheaded all the clan elders present, one by one. Hiss! Sir, this. Looking at Jiang Wushan's ferocious to the extreme means, even Chen Jinghuan violently sucked in a mouthful of cold air. The eyes were filled with infinite horror and horror. Mr. Chen, those who achieve great things don't stick to small things. I've removed all the threats and obstacles for you. From now on, you're the head of the Qianlai clan's family. Don't worry, with this seat backing you up, no one will dare to disobey. Jiang Wushan gently patted his shoulder. Ha? Make me the head of the family? Hearing this, Chen Jinghuan's entire body froze in place. His body kept trembling. I don't know if it's because I'm overly frightened or overly excited. Chapter 17. The first step in the extermination of the clan is to execute the eldest son first. Where is that old, dead ancestor of yours? It's in the backwoods chamber. Chen Jinghuan replied with trepidation. He had originally only wanted to invite Jiang Wushan to come back and transcend his own old ancestor, as a way to obtain 70% of his old man's cultivation during his lifetime. From there, one step to heaven and cultivate into a demigod. Which knows, the seemingly easygoing corpse collector Haiman actually came as soon as the Qianlai family's family head and clan elders, all decapitated. This result made Chen Jinghuan feel 10,000 times more alarmed, and his heart was even more filled with worry and uneasiness. That look! He was afraid that Jiang Wushan would cut off his roots and exterminate him along with him. However, he was clearly overthinking it. For him, Jiang Wushan did not have any interest. Not to mention, Chen Jinghuan helped the clansmen of the Jiang family to collect their corpses and set up their graves, and in all reason, Jiang Wushan would only be grateful to him and would never harm his heart. Go and transcend your family's old ancestor, and you will be able to cultivate into a demigod. In this way, this seat has also repaid you for collecting the corpses and setting up the graves of all the people of the Jiang clan. Jiang Wushan said faintly. Words. Chen Jinghuan took a viciously deep breath, and after answering the question, he immediately led Jiang Wushan towards the secret room at the back of the Qianlai family's mountain. The old ancestor of the Qianlai family who died was named Chen Tianhe. In life, he was a 10th-order demigod. After arriving at the secret room on the back of the mountain, Jiang Wushan followed the process of collecting corpses in the Yellow Springs mysteries, reciting the Heaven and Earth Past Life mantra, and successfully transcended Chen Tianhe's dead soul. Boom! 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 As Chen Tianhe was transcended, his cultivation in his lifetime was transformed into 2 parts and fed back to Jiang Wushan and Chen Jinghuan respectively. Among them, Jiang Wushan accounted for 30%. It was only that he had already cultivated into a true god now, and the 30% cultivation of a mere 10th-ranked demigod was not a big boost to his cultivation. Instead, it was Chen Jinghuan who had gained a heavenly benefit. Under the infusion of 70% of Chen Tianhe's cultivation, the aura and power around him also skyrocketed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Soon after, it broke the shackles and bottleneck of a venerable and stepped into the realm of the demigods. And the increase in cultivation didn't stop. Watch this scene. Jiang Wushan didn't disturb Chen Jinghuan's cultivation and went straight to the secret room next door and sat down. Buzz. With a wave of his big sleeve, the ancient and mysterious demonic jar instantly emerged from midair. Afterward, Jiang Wushan threw in the corpses of Chen Tingshan and the others, as well as the piece of true god's magic treasure from the Qianlai family. The devil's jar, capable of melting all true god substances. Rumbling. Under Jiang Wushan's manipulation, the corpses of Chen Tingshan and the others instantly flew into ashes, and the essence of their circumference was extracted and integrated into their bodies. With this amount of power, Jiang Wushan did not place it in his eyes. Compared to the corpses of Chen Tingshan and the others, what he valued even more was the Qingtian treasure furnace. Half a day later, under the melting of the devil jar, the essence contained inside the green heavenly treasure furnace was extracted completely, causing Jiang Wushan's cultivation to increase by a large margin. Although he hadn't broken through to the second-order true god, it wasn't far off. If there are a few more true god magic treasures, perhaps we can break through. Jiang Wushan sighed regretfully. Having said that, his divine thoughts swept through the secret room next door and realized that Chen Jinghuan had already disappeared. Eventually, he found Chen Jinghuan's trail in the Qianlai family's family hall. At this very moment, after receiving 70% of Chen Tianhe's cultivation during his lifetime, he also took a step up to the 8th-ranked demigod. Right now, A young man in brocade clothing with sharp edges and a deep aura was being received in the family's grand hall. Although this person looked young, his cultivation was not weak and had already reached the third stage of demigod. And, behind him, there was also a grey-clothed old man. Judging from the aura emanating from that, the other party is a true god powerhouse. Luo Yuntian? Looking at this brocade-clothed man who had suddenly appeared in the Qianlai family, a cold light swept across the bottom of Jiang Wuxian's eyes. Luo Yuntian was the first eldest son of the Luo family. His qualifications and roots were not as good as Jiang Wuxian and Luo Qingcheng, but they were still very exceptional. According to Jiang Wuxian's understanding, it seemed that Luo Yuntian had been accepted as a personal disciple by a high person called the Xianyang cave master in his early years. Over the years, he had been cultivating outside and rarely returned to Qingtian city. What's he doing in the Qianlai family? Jiang Wuxian was a bit curious. Speaking, he walked out of the chamber in a flash. Since he was the Luo family's firstborn son, he definitely couldn't be spared. The grass had to be cut to get rid of the roots. Otherwise, it will surely spring to life. The other side. In the Qianlai family's family hall, Luo Yuntian had his hands behind his back as he coldly gazed at Chen Jinghuan in front of him. An 8th order demigod? Feeling the still unstable aura on Chen Jinghuan's body, Luo Yuntian secretly frowned. Chen Jinghuan's qualifications, he knew, were not as good as his own. He himself had worked hard to cultivate for so many years, and with a large amount of resources, he had only managed to reach the third stage of demigod. Chen Jinghuan was inferior to himself in every aspect, so what made him cultivate into an 8th order demigod? One time, Luo Yuntian was both shocked and jealous. I heard that you're the one who collected the bodies and set up the graves for those people in the Zheng family? He asked in a flat tone. Hearing this, Chen Jinghuan's heart fluttered. Now, he finally understood the other party's intention to rise to the occasion. But, once he thought that he had the backing of Jiang Wuxian, a counted powerful true god, the trepidation in his heart was dissipated for the most part. Yes, I did. He nodded very bashfully. Heh, you have a lot of courage. Elder Mo, kill him. After confirming what Chen Jinghuan had done, a fierce light swept across the bottom of Luo Yuntian's eyes as he turned to the grey-clothed old man behind him and commanded. Boom! The moment Luo Yuntian's voice fell, the grey-clothed old man arrived in front of Chen Jinghuan in a flash, stretching out his dry palm and cupping it towards his throat. The aura that emanated from that caused Chen Jinghuan to be shocked. True god? He was appalled. At this moment, he wanted to desperately get rid of the grey-clothed old man's grip, but the difference in strength was too great, and all his efforts and resistance were to no avail. It was also at the time of his panic and despair that, abruptly, a flat voice rang out in his mind. Don't worry. With this seat here, he can't hurt you. Mister. Hearing the familiar voice in his head, Chen Jinghuan was overjoyed. Phew. At the same time, a powerful and unparalleled sword chi cut through the void with a thunderous force and chopped on the grey-clothed old man's dry palm. Ah! Miserable screams rang out, and under the attack of the great 5 elements sword chi, the grey-clothed old man's palm was forcibly chopped off. Elder Mo. It all happened in an instant. Seeing this sudden change, Luo Yuntian, who was coldly watching from the side, waiting for the result, was instantly startled. Imopor Mountain, that's a true god. Even though it was only the lowest first-order true god, it was not something that ordinary beings could fight against. Before he came, he had long inquired clearly that the Qianlai family did not have any true gods, and their most powerful card was a lower-grade true god magic treasure. So, according to Mo Yenshan's true god strength, it was enough to easily pin down the Qianlai family and force them to submit to the Luo family. However, what Luo Yuntian hadn't expected was that he had miscalculated in his greatest reliance. Could it be that the Qianlai family still has true gods? Phew! Just as he was shocked and astonished, steeply, another powerful sword chi swept through mid-air, directly piercing through Mo Yenshan's chest, twisting out all of his vitality. SS. Sound of air sucked between the teeth, indicating hesitation or thinking over. Kill a true god in seconds? Seeing this horrifying scene, Luo Yuntian's heart was terrified to the extreme, and now he was certain that there must be a true god in the Qianlai family. Thinking about it, without any hesitation, he was about to activate the secret method right away, fleeing the Qianlai family as fast as he could. Only, he was still a step too slow. Just as Luo Yuntian turned around, a large, ferocious hand steeply probed out of the void and pinched his neck. You are. He was just about to say something. However, before the words could be uttered, the large hand directly crushed his neck and twisted his head off. Chapter 18, The Luo Family's Ancestor Sacrifice, a big gift for you. When is the Luo family's ancestor festival? After putting Luo Yuntian's as well as Mo Yenshan's corpses into his storage bag, Jiang Wuxian turned around and asked in a faint voice. Back to Mr. Words, the Luo family's announced ancestor sacrifice day is at noon tomorrow. Chen Jinghuan replied respectfully. Tomorrow? Hearing this, Jiang Wuxian nodded. He didn't say anything and went straight back to the secret room in the back of the mountain. He then performed the netherworld chi eating technique and drew 12,000 points of chi from Mo Poor Mountain's body. Immediately after. Then he threw the corpses of Mo Yenshan and Luo Yuntian inside the magic jar. As a first-order true god, the essence contained in Mo Yen-shan's body was very majestic, and after drawing on all of his power, Jiang Wuxian's cultivation increased by a large amount on top of his original base. Only one final step away from a second-order true god. Tomorrow is the day of the Luo family's ancestor festival, and I heard that there will be a true god from the Shangqing sect coming. If I kill a few more true gods, I'll be able to break through to a second-stage true god. He murmured. Say it. He sat down in the center of the chamber and began to recuperate his energy. Time quickly came to the next day, early in the morning. Under the leadership of family head Luo Xianshan, a large number of Luo family's descendants and clansmen had gathered at the Green Dragon Ridge where the ancestral tomb was located. On the square outside the ancestral tomb, an altar 10 feet high had long been set up, with all sorts of offerings placed on it. The Luo family. As an ancient family in Qingtian City, their ancestors had similarly produced true gods, but like the Qianglai family, they were now all defeated. However, compared to the Qianglai family as well as the Panglong villa, the Luo family was very prosperous. His heirs and clansmen have exceeded 3,000. At this very moment, due to the fact that the entire clan was holding a sacrificial ceremony, all of the Luo clan's descendants and clansmen were all summoned back. Thousands of clansmen gathered on the Green Dragon Ridge. The momentum was spectacular and the scene was extremely grand. Looking at the thousands of clansmen present, Luo Xianshan, who was at the very front of the crowd, also nodded his head in an uplifting manner. The Luo family, destined for glory in his generation. Where's Luo Yuntian? Didn't you tell him to go to the Qianglai family before? Why haven't we seen anyone until now? Luo Xianshan scanned the room and realized that he didn't see Luo Yuntian. Immediately turning to the old housekeeper beside him, he asked. Ancestor worship is a big deal, and no one should be absent. Family master, it's still unclear where the Grand Duke has gone. According to the people we sent to the Qianglai family, the Grand Duke left yesterday. The old slave guesses that the Grand Duke may have been delayed by something and will be back later. You don't have to worry too much, family head. The old housekeeper, Li Songhai, replied with a smile. Humph. At this time of the day, what could be more important than ancestor worship? I think he must have gone off to fool around somewhere again. I haven't seen him in a few years, but this kid has turned into a wild horse out of control and disobedient. Luo Xianshan coldly hummed. By the way, the graves of the Jiang family, have they been dug? Not yet. The Qianglai family actually has such a hard backbone? Is this really going to die with my Luo family to the end? A gush of killing intent welled up under his eyes. Family master, according to the news coming out from the Qianglai family, it is said that Chen Jinghuan has brought back a mysterious strong man from outside. Suspected true god. With the support of that mysterious powerhouse, the Qianglai family's family head, Chen Tingshan, as well as numerous clan elders, were all subdued. Nowadays, the Qianglai family's family head has become Chen Jinghuan, and his cultivation has also taken a step forward, cultivating into an 8th-order demigod. Li Songhai replied respectfully. What? Chen Tingshan is dead? Chen Jinghuan became the head of the Qianglai family? There are still true gods in town? Upon hearing this news, Luo Xuanshan's heart and mind were suddenly shaken, and his brows furrowed even tighter. Is the news true? True. Nowadays, the entire Qingtian city has spread the word that Chen Jinghuan has climbed to a higher branch. Since we couldn't pinpoint that mysterious powerhouse from the Qianglai clan, we didn't bother touching the Jiang clan's tomb either. After all, Chen Jinghuan still has great respect for the Jiang family. With a hint of scorn, Li Songhai continued. Good Chen Jinghuan, what a step to heaven. For this matter, don't act rashly first, wait until the true god of the Shangqing sect sits in my Luo family, then we'll settle the score together. Yes. By the way family master, I just received news that Missy will be arriving at Green Sky City soon. In addition, Missy has brought a friend this time, rumored to be Qi Changfeng, the 7th son of the North Sea family. The North Sea family? As soon as he heard this name, Luo Xuanshan's heart was suddenly startled. This was the North Sea realm, an extremely ancient lineage that had been passed down for more than 10,000 years. It is said that the ancestors have produced a heavenly god. In terms of power and heritage, the Beihai family was a behemoth existence in the entire Tianan Earth realm. Even the Shangqing sect has no comparison in front of the North Sea family. Xingqing actually managed to befriend someone from the North Sea family? Well, good. Worthy of being the proud daughter of my Luo family's heaven, if we can befriend the North Sea family, my Luo family's heritage and strength will definitely be taken to the next level. Luo Xianshan laughed out loud. The words were full of appreciation and yearning. Okay. All get ready, when the hour is up, start the ancestor sacrifice immediately. Yes. As Luo Xuanshan's order was given, all the clansmen on the entire Green Dragon Ridge lined up and quietly waited for the auspicious time to arrive. In the meantime, as the Luo family waited for the ancestor sacrifice, Jiang Wuxian, who had changed his body and face anew, also arrived on the Green Dragon Ridge. He hid in a hidden place, taking in the scene in the distance, all of it. 3,382. Now, besides Luo Qingshan, basically everyone from the Luo family has arrived. Jiang Wuxian's eyes swept over the people present and whispered softly. Right now the hour is almost up, it's time to give the Luo family a little big surprise. The words fell. Jiang Wuxian pondered slightly for a few moments, then disappeared in a flash. Master Xianyang Cave, congratulations on the birth of the Luo family's heavenly daughter. Snappy. A loud voice came from the sky, shaking the entire Green Dragon Ridge. Phew! As the words fell, a green light was seen cutting through the void, transforming into an ancient spirit boat that stopped in front of Luo Xianshan and the others. On the spirit boat, there stood a mysterious man wearing a black cloak and a bronze mask. In his hands, he also held an exquisite rosewood box. Master of Xianyang Cave? Upon hearing this name, Luo Xuanshan's heart shook slightly. This was the name of Master Luo Yuntian. According to his understanding, this mysterious and unpredictable Xianyang Cave Master was a powerful true god. Moreover, the strength was at least above a fifth-order true god. The Xianyang Cave Lord personally sent someone to come to the Luo family to congratulate them. This was a great honor. Thank you, Cave Master. The Cave Master has the grace of preaching and teaching my son, and now he has sent an emissary to descend to congratulate him. It is truly a great honor for my Luo family. On behalf of the entire Luo family, Luo Xianshan would like to thank the Cave Master for his great kindness. With a respectful gesture, Luo Xianshan attached himself and made a great obeisance. The words were full of surprise and exhilaration. To this, Jiang Wuxian couldn't see any expression on his face, but in his heart, he was secretly sneering. How happy you are now, how desperate you'll be later. Luo family master, this is a congratulatory gift from my family's cave master to the Luo family, to congratulate the Luo family on the birth of a world-defying heavenly pride that hasn't been born in 10,000 years. According to the cave master's deduction of the heavenly chants, Miss Luo Qingcheng has the qualifications of a divine king, and after 1,000 years, she will become a divine king. Said. Jiang Wuxian handed the rosewood box in his hand to Luo Xianshan. 1,000 years to become a god king? Hearing these words, both Luo Xianshan and the many clansmen on the Green Dragon Ridge all revealed looks of surprise and exhilaration. In 1,000 years, their Luo family would produce a god king. In time, it's the god king family. Everyone was overjoyed at the thought of that glorious sight. Luo family master, on the way out the cave master personally ordered that the congratulatory gift must be personally handed over to Luo family master. And, it must be opened in public by the Luo family head. According to the cave master, he has prepared a heavenly gift for the Luo family. Jiang Wuxian continued. The cave master is really too polite. Since that's the case, let's take a look at this great gift that the cave master has bestowed upon my Luo family. Ha! Speaking, Luo Xianshan took the rosewood box, then pressed the switch on it in front of everyone. Chapter 19, Extermination. Extermination of the clan. Click. Under the gaze of the many Luo family members, the rosewood box opened in response. However, the moment the wooden box was opened, Luo Xianshan was frowning as a strong bloody aura gushed out. A few moments later, when the rosewood box Wanquan opened, the smile on Luo Xuanshan's face suddenly froze, and his entire person froze on the spot. His pair of eyes, deadpan, looked at the rosewood box in his hands, his eyes filled with unprecedented shock. Only to see, in the exquisite rosewood box, there was a bloody head. It was no one else but his eldest son, Luo Yuntian. This, cloudy sky? How is it possible? How is this possible? Yuntian is not. How could he? Bam! Under the great stimulation, the rosewood box in Luo Xuanshan's hand fell to the ground, and Luo Yuntian's bloody head instantly reflected in the eyes of everyone present. Hiss! This is the Grand Duke? The Grand Duke is dead. How is this possible? Didn't the Xianyang Cave Lord specifically come over to congratulate my Luo family? Why did he send someone to deliver a congratulatory gift, but the head of the Grand Duke? The Grand Duke he was killed by the Xianyang Cave Lord. A voice of shock and horror rang out from the surrounding crowd. Subsequently, they unanimously landed their gazes on Jiang Wuxian. Why? Isn't the Xianyang Cave Master my son's master? Why did you kill him? Is this his congratulatory gift to my Luo family? Reacting, Luo Xianshan let out a sad and hideous roar. Luo Yuntian deceived his master and intended to collude with outsiders to harm my cave master. He deserves to be punished. Today, the cave master sent me here to exterminate your Luo family. A murderous voice came out slowly from Jiang Wuxian's mouth. He casually made up an excuse and placed this huge black pot on the Xianyang Cave Lord's head. In this way, not only could he destroy the Luo family in name only, but he could also give that Xianyang Cave Master a chance to pull some hate. Boom! The moment the words fell, Jiang Wuxian offered up the Great Five Elements sword formation as fast as he could, enveloping the entire Green Dragon Ridge. Subsequently, he violently shook the Great Five Elements sword formation. In an instant, thousands of powerful and unrivaled sword chi surged out from the sky, wrapped in a vast divine might, and landed on the many clansmen of the Luo family. Aha! Sword chi streaked across the sky, and the sound of screams shook the sky. With every sword chi that swept across the Green Dragon Ridge, there were hundreds of Luo clan clansmen that were cut down on the spot. In just a split second, a quarter of the clansmen who participated in the ancestor sacrifice on the Green Dragon Ridge died. Watching this scene, Luo Xianshan was suddenly enraged. The dog thief bullied me too much. Shoo away. Accompanied by an earth-shaking roar, Luo Xuanshan's large hand violently spread out, only to see an anciently shaped crimson divine sword instantly emerge above his palm, emanating an overpowering divine might. This was a true god magic treasure called the Red Sky Divine Sword, inherited from the Luo family's ancestral true god. Its quality, compared to the Chenlai family's Qing Tian treasure furnace, was slightly better. Moreover, the divine might was even more intense. Go to hell! After sacrificing the Red Sky Divine Sword, Luo Xianshan immediately launched his fiercest and most powerful attack, manipulating the true god's magic treasure with the power of a demigod and raging towards Jiang Wuxian to kill him. To this, Jiang Wuxian coldly laughed. Out of your depth. Facing Luo Xuanshan's frantic attack, Jiang Wuxian took a step out to his front and gently blasted out a fist, the powerful divine force shattering the sword chi of the Red Sky Divine Sword. And then, a fist smashed into Luo Xuanshan's chest. Wah! With this punch, Jiang Wuxian had only used 10% of his strength, but it was already not something Luo Xianshan could withstand. As a fist fell, the Red Sky Divine Sword in Luo Xuanshan's hand instantly flew out, and he himself violently spat out a large mouthful of blood, his chest deeply sunken. Actually, according to Jiang Wuxian's current cultivation and power, crushing Luo Xianshan at the demigod realm would be effortless. But he didn't kill Luo Xianshan with a single blow. He wants Luo Xianshan to watch his own people, one by one, die horribly in front of him. In the meantime, as he suppressed Luo Xianshan, Jiang Wuxian activated the Great Five Elements Sword Formation, and in a few moments, he decimated all of the Luo family members who had gathered on the Green Dragon Ridge. No! Looking at the cold corpses all over the scene, as well as the scarlet blood flowing, Luo Xianshan let out a hiss and roar of extreme grief. At this moment, his face was hideous to the extreme. The eyes that looked at Jiang Wuxian were even filled with boundless anger and hatred. That hideous look, hate to eat Jiang Wuxian alive. Ha! Looking at him in this manner, Jiang Wuxian also laughed coldly. Archive. When he saw the clansmen of Pan Long Villa being slaughtered, how could he not look and act like Luo Xianshan? There's a place for grievances, and there's a place for debts. Today, everything that the Luo family has inflicted on Pan Long Villa will have to be paid back. Thinking back to the terrified and desperate demeanor of the clansmen, Jiang Wuxian's eyes grew a few degrees colder. Phew! He raised his hand and struck out a sword chi, ignoring Luo Xuanshan's hideous hissing and roaring, and severed his left arm off. Ah! With his arm chopped off, Luo Xianshan let out a mournful and extremely miserable scream. However, before he could regain his senses, Jiang Wuxian chopped off his right arm, again. This is what you killed my father for, and I'm returning it for him. Say it. He sent out another sword chi that severed Luo Xuanshan's legs. This is what you killed my Jiang family members for, and I'm returning it for them now. Also, you buried me alive in my ancestral tomb in a vain attempt to plunder my chi, and I'm going to make you give it back. Sound of a crash. Jiang Wuxian kept murmuring in his heart. He waved his large sleeves, a powerful sword chi blossoming from his hands, falling on Luo Xuanshan's body like a raging storm. Sword by sword, he cut his sinews in blood. As he moved, the large green dragon ridge was filled with Luo Xuanshan's mournful and wailing sounds. A few moments later, Luo Xianshan, whose body had been cut to the bone, seemed to have only his last breath left. Phew! Just as he was about to exterminate Luo Xianshan in one fell swoop, suddenly, a sharp air-breaking sound came from the distant sky. Fixing his eyes, he only saw an ancient spirit boat, which was breaking through the air at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, he arrived outside the Green Dragon Ridge. On top of the spirit boat, 4 figures stood. A dignified and cool white-clothed woman, a brocade-clothed young man with a folding fan and an extraordinary appearance, and 2 gray-clothed old men, one fat and one thin. Luo Qingcheng, Qi Changfeng of the North Sea family. North Sea family, Yun Jiuming. North Sea family, Zhao Shanhe. Jiang Wuxian's cold eyes swept across the void, and under the reflection of the Devil Dao panel, he instantly learned the identities and origins of the remaining 3. Ha! The 7th son of the North Sea family has actually gotten involved with Luo Qingcheng? In addition, there are 2 third-order true gods from the North Sea family. Looking at the few people who arrived, Jiang Wuxian was a bit surprised. Same time. It was also while Jiang Wuxian was gazing at Luo Qingcheng and the others with a frown, the 4 people on the spirit boat also noticed the horrifying scene on the Green Dragon Ridge. Yun Tian. Father. Looking at Luo Yuntian's head, as well as the decapitated, limbless Luo Xianshan, Luo Qingcheng immediately lost her voice and shrieked. Her absolutely beautiful face was covered with shock, as well as grief. But these horrors and agonies only lasted for a few moments before they disappeared, replaced by monstrous ferocious light and killing opportunities. Dog thief, why did you slaughter my Luo family's entire clan? She roared hideously. In response, Jiang Wuxian coldly hummed. Luo Yuntian deceived his master and intended to harm the Xianyang cave master. Today, I have been ordered by the cave master to come and exterminate the entire Luo family. Right now, the Luo family's 3,000 clansmen have all died, leaving only you father and daughter. Say it! Jiang Wuxian waved his large sleeve, and a surge of abundant divine power instantly surged out, rolling Luo Xuanshan's entire body into midair. Immediately after, in front of Luo Qingcheng's face, a punch will burst him. Chapter 20, Killing the Shanqing Sect. Father. Seeing that Luo Xianshan had been blown up by a single punch, with not even a bit of his corpse remaining, Luo Qingcheng, who was on the spirit boat in the distance, immediately let out a hoarse howl of grief. At this very moment, her body was trembling unceasingly, and unprecedented sadness and pain appeared on her stunningly beautiful face. Still, it's more hideous and hateful. Sir Qi, help me kill him. Help me kill this dog thief. I want him dead. As long as you help me kill him, no matter what the conditions are, I promise you. Sick and desperate. Seeing his father, as well as all the clansmen, all die tragically in front of him, Luo Qingcheng, after coming back to his senses, immediately turned to Qi Changfeng beside him, and begged hideously. Words. Qi Changfeng didn't say anything. He first stared at Jiang Wushan for a few moments before he nodded. Elder Yun, Elder Zhao, let's trouble the two of you to make a move to put this audacious thief to death. Shenyang Cave Lord, it's just a mere 5th rank true god, it's indeed too arrogant and cocky. He should be taught a hard lesson. Qi Changfeng said expressionlessly. Yes, my lord. As his words fell, Yin Zhoming and Zhao Shanhe, who were standing behind him, immediately took a step out and pounced towards Jiang Wushan with a furious momentum after responding respectfully. They were all 3rd order true gods, and their cultivation and strength, as well as the magical treasures they possessed, were all more powerful than Jiang Wushan. But this didn't mean that Jiang Wushan would be afraid of them. The weekly heavenly life sacrifice technique. Seeing that Yin Jioming and Zhao Shanhe, the 2 3rd order true gods, had already killed their way to their heels, Jiang Wushan immediately executed the great law of circumstantial life sacrifice. This spell, which was possessed by Yi Zhangzhan before his birth, allowed him to acquire great battle power for a short period of time by burning his own lifespan. The more lifespans burned, the more powerful the battle. Due to the longevity lattice, Jiang Wushan possessed a lifespan 10 times that of a true god. Therefore, he did not place Yin Jioming and Zhao Shanhe, the 2 3rd order true gods, in his eyes. Rumble. Under the effect of the weekly heavenly life sacrifice technique, Jiang Wushan directly burned 5,000 years of lifespan in one go, directly raising his own cultivation level to a 5th order true god. What? This is a 5th order true god? How is that possible? It all happened in an instant. Feeling the powerful divine might that Jiang Wushan unleashed, the two of them, Jin Jioming and Zhao Shanhe, were instantly startled. Not only them, but even Qi Changfeng, who was watching from afar, had steeply changed his face. Asterisk 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 asterisk. That old thing, the Xianyang Cave Lord, isn't he a 5th order true god? How could there be such a powerful existence under him? Could it be that this person is the Xianyang Cave Master himself in disguise? Qi Changfeng thought with a shocked face. Your Excellency, hurry up and go to the Shanqing sect to find the 3rd master. Let's hold him off and go. Just as Qi Changfeng was in disbelief and fear, Yun Jioming's incomparably urgent voice sounded in the distance. Hear that? Qi Changfeng did not hesitate and immediately took out a jade talisman and crushed it, taking Luo Qingcheng with him and disappearing in place. When it appeared again, it was already 1,000 miles away. Heh, wanna go? Today, I'd like to see where you guys can escape to. Even the Shanqing sect can't save you. Seeing Qi Changfeng and Luo Qingcheng fleeing the Green Dragon Ridge, a monstrous ferocious light stormed under Jiang Wushan's eyes. Boom! Boom! With his crushingly powerful strength, he blasted out 2 consecutive punches, directly suppressing the attacks of the Yun Jioming duo. Immediately after, he arrived in front of Yun Jioming with a flash, ignoring his panic and despair, and directly broke his neck with a punch. In a blink of an eye, a bloody head flew out. The same. For Zhao Shanhe, it was the same end. Buzz. After suppressing them, Jiang Wushan spread out his palm, and an ancient and mysterious black devil jar instantly emerged from his palm. And then, under his control, it transformed into a terrifying black hole, swallowing the corpses of everyone present, all of them. Do it all. Jiang Wushan executed the 5 elements' great escape, and his entire body transformed into a brilliant golden light, chasing after Qi Changfeng and Luo Qingcheng in the direction they had left. Shanqing sect. The most powerful clan power in the million-mile region around Qingtian City, with an inheritance of 15,000 years, its heritage and power were very powerful. Within the sect, there were several true gods sitting around. At this point, inside the Lingyun Hall of the Shanqing sect, Patriarch Qing Yuanzi was drinking tea and discussing the Tao with a middle-aged man in green with a face like a crown of jade and an elegant temperament. During this time, there were elders and true gods from the Shanqing sect accompanying them, and the atmosphere was so lively. Patriarch Qing Yuan, this time your Shanqing sect has produced a true dragon. TSK, the aptitude of a god king. This kind of world-defying qualification and potential, not to mention the Tiannan realm, even if it's put into the entire southern wasteland, it's still rare. With Luo Qingqing around, in the future, the Shanqing sect will definitely be able to achieve extreme splendor and glory and become a god king great sect. If only my Beihai clan, too, had such outstanding sons and clansmen. Qi Qingshan sipped his tea, full of envious tone, and said with a smile. In the face of his compliments and praise, Qing Yuanzi, as well as the crowd of true gods and elders present, all revealed smiles. For the Shangqing sect to be able to give birth to a heavenly pride with the aptitude of a divine king, it was an honor for the entire sect. Whether it was as the patriarch of the Shangqing sect, or the true gods and elders of the Shangqing sect, they were doubly proud. Third master is flattered. Although Qingshengshi has some qualifications and potential, she is still just a demigod today, and is still far from the realm of the god king. We dare not think of a god king. If she can cultivate into a heavenly god, that would be a great honor for my Shangqing sect. Moreover, with the depth and resources of our Shangqing sect, we can't cultivate a divine king. I've heard that Qingsheng and the seventh prince have a good relationship. It would be a beautiful story if they were able to tie the knot, hee hee. Qing Yuanzi responded with a smile. The depth of the Shangqing sect was not enough to cultivate a divine king. If there was help from the North Sea family, the chances would be a bit greater. Actually, the North Sea family was also looking at this very point. Children and grandchildren will always have their children and grandchildren. It's up to the young people to do their own thing. It's not good for us to interfere too much. But according to me, Changfeng and Qingcheng are still quite compatible. Qi Qingshan nodded leisurely and said. This time, when he came to the Shangqing sect, he also first communicated with Qing Yuanzi and the others to make preparations in advance. Regarding Qi Qingshan's meaning, Shang Yuanzi and the others were very clear. The matter, for both the Shangqing sect and the North Sea family, it was beneficial and harmless, and Luo Qingcheng herself showed no signs of opposition. Therefore, they are also more favorable. This time, for the Luo family ancestor sacrifice, the 7 dukes may have to stay in Qingtian City for a while, so when they return, we'll ask them for their opinions together. Better yet, get this finalized sooner rather than later. Qing Yuanzi sipped his tea and said, Oh, I was thinking the same thing. For this matter, my North Sea family is also very few. Just as Qi Qingshan wanted to open his mouth to say something, suddenly, a sharp air-breaking sound came from the distant sky. In the meantime, and Qi Changfeng's desperate cries for help. Uncle San, save me. Xianyang Cave Lord, that old thief has already destroyed the Luo family's entire clan, and now he wants to kill me. Third uncle, help ah. Master of the Xianyang Cave, slaughtered the entire Luo family? Upon hearing Qi Changfeng's familiar voice, as well as the message revealed in his words, the people seated in the Great Hall were startled. Shoo, shoo, shoo. They immediately rushed out of the Lingyun Hall as fast as they could and looked over in the direction of the source of the sound. See only. At this moment, in the place outside the mountain gate of the Shangqing sect, the duo of Qi Changfeng and Luo Qingcheng were driving a spirit boat, traveling madly. In the meantime, behind them, there was a mysterious man in a cloak with a murderous aura. Xianyang Cave Master, with such audacity? Qi Qingshan frowned. Changfeng, don't be afraid, with Uncle San here, no one can hurt you. Despite some doubts in his heart, Qi Qingshan did not hesitate and immediately took a step out and rushed towards Qi Changfeng and Luo Qingcheng to save the two of them. Only, he was still a step too late in striking. Phew! Just as Qi Qingshan had just rushed out of the Lingyun Hall, a mournful and miserable scream resounded through the surrounding space. Fix your eyes! Only to see a war spear thrown from the man at the back, piercing through Qi Changfeng's chest. In the end, it nailed his entire body to the square outside the Lingyun Hall. Chapter 21, Killing Luo Qingcheng, Revenge. Changfeng. Looking at Qi Changfeng, who was nailed to death in front of him, Qi Qingshan couldn't help but yell out in grief. His body, trembling violently, was almost in a state of blindness. Qi Changfeng, this was the pride of their Beihai family, with a great future ahead of him. Now, he had died in front of him. The scene. It made Qi Qingshan furious. Both hands clenched their fists in death. That indignant look, it was too much to crush the bones. The bottom of the eyes, but also stormed an infinite killing opportunity. Bold fanatic, how dare you kill my Beihai family's heavenly pride, you seek death. Boom! Accompanied by an earth-shaking explosive roar, Qi Qingshan's body shook, and a powerful divine might instantly surged out like a flood, covering the 10 directions of the void. This overwhelming aura of divine might pressed down on the thousands of disciples and disciples of the Shangqing sect, trembling. In the meantime, the moment the words fell, Qi Qingshan, who was caught up in monstrous indignation, violently stepped out, and the entire person killed Jiang Wuxian like a madman. The moment. His aura of a 5th stage true god was revealed. However, in the face of Qi Qingshan's powerful cultivation and strength, Jiang Wuxian was not as alarmed and fearful as the Shangqing sect's disciples, but instead, the corners of his mouth lifted up in a trace of disdain. It's only a 5th order true god. If you dare to stand in my way, you will die just the same. As he spoke, Jiang Wuxian harnessed a divine light and arrived in front of Luo Qingcheng, pinching her neck. The other side. He secretly performed the weekly heavenly life sacrifice technique and burned 6,000 years of his lifespan to temporarily raise his cultivation and power to a 6th order true god. As long as he could take revenge, even if he had to pay some price, it would be worth it. Not to mention, he still had tens of thousands of years of lifespan to support him, not to mention a mere 5th order true god like Qi Qingshan. Even if a 10th order true god came, Jiang Wuxian would still be able to kill it. So, he did not place Qi Qingshan in his eyes. Rolling. When Qi Qingshan killed in front of him, he didn't even think about it and directly raised his hand and blasted over with a fist. The powerful divine power transformed into a heavenly hand and shattered Qi Qingshan's attack. Immediately after that, with the momentum of a breakthrough, straight to the face of the door. Sixth order true god? Feeling the terrifying divine might and power contained in Jiang Wuxian's punch, Qi Qingshan's face suddenly changed drastically. Xuanwu divine armor. In the nick of time, his body flashed with green light, and a brilliant divine armor with divine light instantly appeared out of thin air. Knock! It was also at this moment that Jiang Wuxian's divine fist ruthlessly blasted down, landing on Qi Qingshan's body. Aha! With the powerful defense of the Xuanwu divine armor, although Qi Qingshan let out an extremely painful muffled grunt and spat out divine blood, he did not suffer any fatal injuries. His entire body, under the impact of Jiang Wuxian's fierce and overwhelming divine power, flew backwards towards the distance, collapsing a large area of palaces and buildings. Hiss! This third Master Qi was actually suppressed? What kind of god is this person? It all happened in an instant. First, Qi Changfeng, the seventh son of the North Sea family, was killed, and then Qi Qingshan, a fifth-order true god, was blown away with a punch. If it wasn't for the Xuanwu divine armor on his body to protect his life, I'm afraid that this punch would have killed him. Watching this terrifying scene, Qin Yuanzi and the others in the distance were each shocked to the extreme. Move! Everyone, all of you leave the Shangqing sect. Qin Yuanzi raised a loud roar. After saying that, he greeted the group of elders and disciples present, and then prepared to leave this place as fast as he could. The moment. They all could already see that Jiang Wuxian had come here with the intention of certain death, and continuing to stay here would surely only lead to death. Therefore, after hearing Qin Yuanzi's cry, everyone didn't have the heart to pay attention to Qi Qingshan and instantly fled frantically. Only, it was obviously too late for them to escape at this time. In the face of absolute power, all resistance and struggle are futile. When the Shangqing sect annihilated my Jiang family, I'm bound to annihilate the Shangqing sect today as well. A blood debt can only be paid in blood. Boom! As the words fell, Jiang Wuxian used his vast divine power to press down on Qin Yuanzi and the others with a palm in the air. And then, amidst the gusts of mournful screams, all of those fleeing Shangqing sect members were caught in his hands. Immediately after, only to see that Jiang Wuxian's 5 fingers suddenly came together and expressionlessly pinched all of the sect members of the Shangqing sect, all of them, to death with one hand. Do it all! He took one step and rushed into the ruins in the distance. At this moment, Qi Qingshan, who had been blown out by a punch, was spitting divine blood as he stood up from the ground. That strike from Jiang Wuxian was simply too strong. Even though he relied on the powerful defense of the Xuanwu divine armor to save his life, the tendons and bones around his body were all shattered by the divine power. Even if you want to escape, it's impossible. Your Excellency is here for Luo Qingcheng, right? We have nothing to do with Luo Qingcheng. If your Excellency rushes to the end, are you not afraid of my Beihai family? Noisy! Seeing that Qi Qingshan was on the verge of death, he actually thought of using the North Sea family to deter him, and was even prepared to secretly pass on the message. The corners of Jiang Wuxian's mouth were more than just a sardonic smile. He didn't talk nonsense to Qi Qingshan, only to see his palms slowly spread out, and an ancient and mysterious black tile jar instantly surfaced. Boom! A terrifying suction force surged out and directly swept Qi Qingshan, along with the bodies of Qin Yuanzi and the others, inside. Soon, the screams of Qi Qingshan then came from inside the magic jar. However, his screams only lasted for an instant before they disappeared completely. Same time, a majestic stream of essence and divine power swept out from the demonic jar and surged into Jiang Wuxian's body. A few moments later, under the impetus of that majestic essence power, Jiang Wuxian broke the shackles of 2 realms consecutively, and his cultivation was promoted to a 3rd-stage true god. In addition, a Xuanwu divine armor was also harvested. This was a mid-grade true god magic treasure with extremely powerful defense. After wearing it, it could withstand the full force of a 6th-stage true god strike. Jiang Wuxian was still satisfied with this result. Swish! Only after melting Qi Qingshan and the others, did he then place his icy cold eyes, landing on Luo Qingqing's body. At this very moment, after seeing Jiang Wuxian's ferocious and tyrannical, and incomparably powerful strength, even with Luo Qingqing's calm mindset, she could not tense up. Her absolutely beautiful face finally revealed a look of panic and fear. You are by no means the Xianyang cave master. Who the hell are you? She hissed as hard as she could. Looking at her frightened and desperate appearance, the cold smile at the corner of Jiang Wuxian's mouth grew a few points thicker. Ha! Luo Qingcheng, you also have moments of fear and despair? Back then, this wasn't like this when you dug up my supreme divine bone, as well as exterminating my entire Jiang clan. A flat voice slowly came out from under the mask. As soon as I heard that, Luo Qingcheng's entire person was struck by lightning. Her pupils suddenly tightened, and an extremely shocked look appeared on her stunningly beautiful face. Are you Jiang Wuxian? How is this possible? Weren't you dug out of the supreme divine bone by me and have been buried alive in the Green Dragon Ridge? How can you possibly be alive? She rounded her eyes and hissed frantically. Looking at her lunatic-like reaction, Jiang Wuxian but coldly snorted. Nothing is impossible in this world. Since you planted the cause in the first place, you should repay this sinful fruit today. Speaking, Jiang Wuxian used his divine power as a knife and directly cut open her chest, digging out the bone of the Supreme God King that originally belonged to him. The moment he finally got what was his back. Looking at the Supreme God King bone above his palm that was overflowing with divine light, a faint smile appeared at the corner of Jiang Wuxian's mouth. Boom! After admiring it for a few moments, he gave a slight push with his large hand and directly threw Luo Qingcheng into the magic jar, melting it down in a big way. Ah! In the magic jar, Luo Qingcheng's mournful screams were heard, but in the blink of an eye, they fell completely silent. Afterwards, a majestic essence surged into Jiang Wuxian's body, transforming into his divine power. The moment his great revenge finally avenged. Chapter 22 The Second Taking of the Body, Incense, and Fire Avenue Law. Myth Builders. The Xian Tian ancient city, located in the center of the Tian-Nan Earth realm, was the largest gold-selling grotto in this area, specializing in serving the cultivators of the cultivation world. It is said, the owner of the mythic building is so powerful and skillful that as long as you can afford the price, basically any service you want, the mythic building will be able to fulfill it for you. However, it has a very high bar. Only accepts cultivators above true God. After killing Luo Qingcheng and destroying the Shangqing sect, Jiang Wuxian brought all of the resources of the Shangqing sect to the Xian Tian ancient city. Eventually, he spent 1,000,000 divine stones to stay in the mythic building for a year. In the mythic building, he didn't have to worry about being disturbed by the outside world, and it also had the best cultivation environment, as well as various services and facilities, making it the best place to cultivate. The Kanglin Residence. This place was Jiang Wuxian's cultivation residence in the myth building. Inside an ancient and elegant room, Jiang Wuxian spread his large hand out and the devil jar slowly manifested from his palm. Subsequently, he took out his Supreme God King bone, carefully scrutinized it for a few moments, and threw it inside the magic jar. Since the demon jar was able to strengthen all true God level items, it was surely able to strengthen the Supreme God King bone as well. The truth, and it does. After about half a day or so, when Jiang Wuxian took the Supreme God King bone out of the inside of the magic jar, it had already been strengthened 100 times. At this very moment, above Jiang Wuxian's palm, there was a golden prismatic bone silently suspended, which was covered with mysterious and arcane innate divine patterns and exuded grand divine might and weather. Name, Innate Supreme Bone. Level, Divine Emperor. Introduction. By fusing this supreme divine bone, one will possess the qualifications of a Gaijin Emperor. 1. Taoist Mind. The Taoist mind is firm and unshakable, not disturbed by the demons of the mind or anything from the outside world, and the difficulty of breaking through the realm is reduced by 10%. 2. Born Supreme, any Dharma discipline can be cultivated to the supreme level in one day. When Jiang Wuxian gazed at the Supreme God King bone, under the reflection of the Devil Dao panel, a lot of information was immediately presented, in the form of a panel. Read it. His spirits lifted slightly. The Supreme God King bone, after being strengthened 100 times, actually has the qualifications of a Gaijin Emperor. According to this, my previous qualifications have at least reached the level of a divine monarch. In addition, the strengthened innate supreme bone also possesses 2 powerful attributes, which is an unexpected blessing. Jiang Wuxian's mind was stirred. Say it. After scrutinizing it for a moment, he took this piece of innate supreme bone and reintegrated it into himself. Since the supreme bone was originally his own, it was very easy for Jiang Wuxian to fuse it, and it only took a short hour to completely fuse it with himself. Anum. Rumbling. When the fusion of the innate supreme bone was complete, Jiang Wuxian felt a surge of divine power that came out from within the divine bone, flowing around his body like a great river. In a flash, he felt that his soul was clear, and the essence and mysteries of his lifelong cultivation of various dharmas were presented in his mind. It made his comprehension and utilization of these dharmas reach an unprecedented level. See this. Jiang Wuxian immediately focused all of his mind and attention and began to enlighten himself on what he had learned. After spending a day, with the help of the innate supreme bone, he carefully combed through all of the various dharma disciplines he was currently practicing, eventually cultivating them all to the supreme level, capable of evolving the true meaning of the martial Tao. Clamor. With just a thought, there was a vast surge of divine power around his body, and the true essence of various dharma disciplines manifested all sorts of world-shattering phenomena above his body. With my current cultivation level of a third-order true God, along with these dharma sect that has been cultivated to the extreme realm, I can easily suppress a fourth-order true God. Strength, again, has improved considerably. Feeling the powerful divine power flowing around him, a bright smile appeared at the corner of Jiang Wuxian's mouth. He was still satisfied with the result. Next, it's time to prepare for the second takeover. I wonder this time, who will be the lucky one to be taken over by me? Is it still in the desolate ancient world? After everything was ready, Jiang Wuxian communicated the Devil Dao panel with his powerful mind. Does it randomly seize a true God practitioner? A message that emerged from the mind. Ha! Looking at this sudden prompt, Jiang Wuxian was slightly stunned. The first time I took over the body, I didn't specify a cultivation level, although it was also randomized. This time, however, there were some changes, and it was able to randomly seize a true god. That's good. If you randomly take over a true god, you won't have to start cultivating all over again. Think about it. He took a deep breath and mumbled takeover in his mind. Boom! As Jiang Wuxian's order was given, his soul and consciousness were instantly drawn away from his original body, and his eyes were plunged into endless darkness. And I don't know how much time has passed. When Jiang Wuxian's consciousness, from the boundless darkness, came to his senses, he immediately felt an icy, bone-piercing chill come over him. Fix your eyes. Only to see that the position he was in now was a dark cage cast from Xianjin, and there were chains as thick as an arm hanging above his body. I became a prisoner? Looking at the environment he was in, as well as the shackles he was carrying, Jiang Wuxian instantly revealed a stunned expression. The second takeover, it seems that the life is not good. Congratulations, you've successfully taken over the true disciple of the moon-worshipping sect, Liamotian. You have gained the second invincibility method, the incense and fire avenue method. This takeover will last at least a year. During the period of seizing the body, you can transfer everything on Liamotian to this body at any time. After the seizing of the body is completed, Liamotian's body will not perish and will continue to remain in the world in the form of the demon lord's bilocation. Just as Jiang Wuxian was marveling and sighing, suddenly, a prompt rang out from his mind. In the meantime, a supreme dharma called the Fragrance Avenue Law was also imprinted on his divine soul out of thin air. Also, along with the incense and fire Great Tao Law, there was also all of Liamotian's memories. The Great Law of Incense and Fire? Is this some kind of incense to become a dharma? Jiang Wuxian was curious in his heart. There seems to be some information that can be glimpsed from this name of the Great Law of Incense and Fire. But this was just his subjective speculation. Specifically, it would have to depend on the introduction of the Magic Path panel. Name, the Law of the Avenue of Incense and Fire. Rank, none. Introduction, there is no god in the world, but because of the incense, the gods are created. Remarks, 1. God-making success rate, 100%. You can make a divine contract with any dead strong man on earth and offer him as a god. 2. Spirit item drop rate, 100%. Every time a deity is sacrificed, the deity must drop items, including but not limited to, treasures, dharma, cultivation, lineage, lifespan, chi, merit. 3. Apotheosis, 100%. All items dropped by a deity will be deified, thus giving the deities will and power. This incense and fire Great Tao Law seems quite interesting. Looking at the panel information that was presented, Jiang Wuxian's heart rose with intense interest. This is a supreme discipline for making gods. If I cultivate this incense and fire Great Tao Law, doesn't it mean that in the future, there will be many deities that will be born from my hands? I make gods out of earthly beings? It seems like a very challenging thing to do, and I can also acquire more resources and power through god-making. Jiang Wuxian kept calculating in his mind. He was still relatively interested in this Fragrance Avenue Law. But the situation at hand was clearly not in any condition for cultivation. He had to get out of his cage and free himself before he could do that. Thinking about it, Jiang Wuxian immediately focused his mind and began to comb through his mind, having memories of Liamotian. A few moments later, when he reopened his eyes, he frowned tightly. This Liamotian turns out to be a dog licker.